I now have 7 p.m. and it is August 19th, and this is the Orion Township Municipal Complex Boardroom, and this is the Charter Township of Orion Planning Commission meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Reynolds?
Here.
Gross?
Here.
Urbanowski, absent with notice. Walker?
Here.
Jones?
Here.
Lovett?
Here.
Turagian, absent with notice. We have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, we do have 2 public hearings this evening. I will go over those in just a minute. Would ask everyone here in the public, if you're attending here, make sure you sign yourself in, name and address in the table outside in the lobby for us, please, so we can have it for record-keeping purposes. We do have 2 public hearings. I'll go over process as we get into them, and I'll walk everyone through it. But we do have a joint public hearing scheduled with the Board of Trustees at 7:05 for PC 26-29 Silver Spruce Plaza, major PUD amendment, adding a drive-through, an existing retail center located at 3901 South Lapeer Road, parcel 0926452017. And immediately following, we have a public hearing for PC 26-21, which is a Baldwin Village minor PUD amendment to modify residential arrangement and architectural and convert some residential to for-sale housing located at an unaddressed parcel south of 3440 Gingell Drive, parcel 0932-151-020, 4292 South Baldwin Road, parcel 0932-151-021, 4790 South Baldwin Road, formerly part of parcel 0932-301-014, now parcel 0932-301-016, 4740 South Baldwin Road, formerly part of 0932-301-014, now parcel 0932-301-015, and an unaddressed parcel north of 4740 South Baldwin Road, parcel 0932-301-001. Now, since we have 2 public hearings, again, one is scheduled to be a joint. I believe we will have a lack of quorum on the trustee side, so I'll go over that in just a minute. But I will like to point everyone to the back of their agenda this evening. There is both conduct for our public hearings, both for public comments, and then also as it relates to conduct at our meetings. We do ask to keep all comments addressed to myself and solely myself as the chair of the Planning Commission, to no one else in the room, including other planning commissioners, other people in the room, and including that of the applicant. We do ask everyone have one trip up to the podium, no more than 3 minutes. If you could start with your name and address, please, that is a requirement, and then also you have 3 minutes for your questions and comments. Public hearing is not a back and forth component. It is an information gathering phase, so you're welcome to ask questions, ask comments. We keep record of that. It goes on record, hence stating your name and address on the record for us. We will gather all of that information. If the case is on our agenda further along, we will deliberate potentially on that case if it is on our agenda. If it is not, obviously the public hearing component of it is strictly that information gathering phase. Now, when we get to the public hearing, we will adjourn our regular meeting. We will open the public hearing. The petitioner will have an opportunity to make a brief presentation. Then at that point, we'll ask citizens for their opportunity. If we received any citizen letters, we'll read those into the record. And then the Planning Commission will have an opportunity for questions and comments. And then if the petitioner so chooses, has the opportunity to address any of the questions, comments brought forth in the public hearing phase. At that point, we'll close the public hearing, reconvene our meeting, and carry on. Like I said, since we have 2 public hearings, we'll kind of do that process over twice before we proceed with our agenda. I think that generally covers it. So I will ask that the Planning Commission consider item number 3 on our agenda. We'll take it as far as we can take it prior to 7:05. So in front of us this evening, we do have 3 sets of meeting minutes: our regular meeting minutes, the special land use meeting minutes for PC 2626, and then also the township initiated amendments, public hearing minutes for 2628 PC case. Do I have any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the 3 sets of minutes for August the 5th of 2026 of the Planning Commission be approved as submitted.
I have a motion. Do I have support? Support by Mr. Lovett. Further discussion by the Planning Commission. Seeing none, any public discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please state with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Item number 4 is our agenda review and approval. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as submitted.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Gross. Further discussion by the Planning Commission. Any public comment? All those in favor, please state with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, that leads us to 7:05. So at this time, we will start with our joint public hearing with the Board of Trustees. So I'd like to adjourn our regular meeting and open our, ask the Board of Trustees if they would like to open their meeting. We do have a item of quorum, so I'll ask Tammy if you can just do a brief roll call for the record, please.
Yes. Barnett, absent with notice. Dalrymple, absent with notice. Pfeiffer, absent with notice. Flood, absent with notice. Lovett, absent, I'm sorry, Lovett? Sorry.
Present.
Not absent with notice.
Bigglesdorf, absent with notice. Carson, absent with notice. We do not have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:06 for the PC case. Now, for everyone sitting in this room who may be trying to understand where this goes from here, again, this is for the PC case of 26-29 Silver Spruce Plaza. It was a last minute kind of happening, so what will occur is that the Board of Trustees portion, public hearing portion, will happen at a later date, more than likely at a Board of Trustee meeting, so that will be advertised and put back out there. Again, they apologize, but we always try and streamline our processes by getting them here for both components. It just unfortunately didn't work last minute for the Board of Trustees. So just for everyone's sake, for anyone regarding the PC 26-29, that will still occur per our regulations. It just will occur at a later date for the Board of Trustees component for the public hearing. Okay, at this point in time, since I already opened the public hearing, I'll ask the petitioner if they want to step up to the podium and make a brief overview of the request. We can start there. Tammy, are you aware that they weren't attending? Not aware of that? Okay. So how about we go ahead and proceed? I'll go ahead and walk us through what the applicant is doing here, just so we can complete the public hearing portion of it. Generally speaking, we're referring to the gas station and retail development that is at the northeast corner of Silver Bell and M24, also known as Lapeer Roads. They're asking for an amendment to what was a PUD to permit a drive-through use for the retail component of it. So that was our consideration per our zoning ordinance. That is something that is not a straight approved use, and better yet, because it's a PUD, that is a specialty zoned corner, and therefore anything that's amending that has to go back through the process. So that is why you're dealing with a PUD amendment. So with that, I will go ahead and proceed. That will be the very brief petitioner presentation on their behalf. And I'll ask if any citizens are present that would like to make any question or comment based on the drive-through request for Silver Spruce Plaza. Go ahead, if you want to step up to the podium, state your name and address, you have 3 minutes.
I have to time it, or are you going to time me?
Go ahead, I will time you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
First time here, respect what your efforts are. My name is Paul Harvath. I live on 129 East Silver Bell Road, 3 lots down from the property under discussion, and I stand here in opposition of an additional drive-through proposed here tonight. Primary reason is noise. It's getting louder and louder and louder. When they built this place, it was loud all the time. This is just going to make it louder all day long. Number 2, traffic concerns, particularly on the entrance from Silver Bell, which people use as an exit. We've already had 1 death, unfortunately, and we drive by those flowers every day. So that particular exit crosses 4 lanes of traffic going west. For some reason, it goes from 1 lane to 4 lanes, 2 right turns, 2 straight through. It's a mess. Adding more traffic congestion there with a drive-through is problematic at best, and is just opening up for more problems. Safety is really becoming an issue there with kids on their motorized bicycles, and combining that with this kind of traffic flow, it is a problem. Also, please, if you would please, look at these blueprints and see how close that drive-through is to the residents on High Hill. High Hill has been here a lot longer than that new development has been, and they've expanded it and expanded it. We're just getting tired. We're really tired. You're taking our green spaces, you shoved in condos. You took green spaces, you shoved in a parking lot for Wally Edgar. You took the kitty corner green space, and you shoved in the sheets. Behind that now is a multiple acre parking lot, and we have no idea what it's for. All that water is going somewhere, and basements flood, because we are the normal drain path for all of it. We're tired. I'm tired of just being ignored. I'm tired of the noise. I'm tired of the just problems that are caused by the amount of people being shoved into that space, and it's not living as a vacation anymore. It's becoming problematic. I appreciate what you guys do. If you had somebody wanting to put a drive-through literally 100 feet, for in my case, 200 yards from your backyard, would you want it? Regardless of the hours they say they're going to run, you know they're going to come back later and try to move it later and later. Please don't do this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Additional public comments? Anyone else who wants to speak after this gentleman, if you want to just kind of make a short line that helps move the public hearing components along?
Good evening. My name is Brian Kelly. Live 3759 Highdale Drive in Lake Orion, subdivision High Hill. I'm opposed to the addition of the drive-through function. I took a look at that blueprints, and I also had the opportunity to walk through the area. And I found that, first of all, they have a drive-through window already built into the retail liquor gas station area. They're not using it. And then I noticed in the blueprints that they want to do a drive-through for the supposed restaurant that's going to be in the new addition. The restaurant logic, I guess, is that if they have a drive-through for coffee and whatever, in the new addition, that will allow for better parking and more flow-through traffic. And complementing what the other gentleman just said, that's just going to make the situation worse. It may improve the parking for them, but it's not going to do anything for, the local residents there. Relative to the gas station part, I'm concerned that if they already sell liquor, beer, wine, and they have a huge display of all that, and if you've got people driving through, I don't know what their hours of operation will be, but it's hard enough to control, the children who are under 18 getting alcohol in different places, different ways. I don't know how they're going to enforce that that's not going to happen. Plus, you got people driving on 24 that'll pull in and get their liquor there, and you can check with the police department and see what the challenges are with accidents on M24, and also, the number that are related to drunk drivers. And so from that perspective, if they're going to have a drive-through for the coffee or whatever at the attachment, the new building, that might be okay. But I would not approve any kind of retail selling through of product through that gas station, through a drive-through. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Additional public comments? All right, seeing none, I will go ahead and the only citizen letters, Tammy, help me out here while I'm kind of doing all of it. We didn't receive any citizen letters on this case, correct? Okay, thank you very much. So at this time, I'll turn it over to the Planning Commission for their comments and questions. Any comments or questions during the public hearing portion?
Until the applicant has a chance to present his case.
Yep, agreed. I echo some of the comments that are brought forth. I'm well aware of that corner and agree with some of the comments and questions and concerns. Since the Board of Trustees was not here and the petitioner is not here, I would like to go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:05 for PC 26-29 Silver Spruce Plaza. And I would like to proceed with the immediately following public hearing for Baldwin Village, which is 26-21. So I would like to open that public hearing at 7:15. And with that said, would ask if the petitioner is present to make a brief presentation, and then we'll carry on with that public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. I appreciate your time. My name is Jim Epping. I'm a land planner with J. Epping Partners with offices in Auburn Hills, Michigan. I'm here tonight representing Red Equities and our development partners for the request of a minor amendment to an existing PUD known as Baldwin Village, which is just down the road on Baldwin Road, just north of Morgan Road. As you know, the Planning Commission, the Township Board, all your entire team throughout the community, as well as the residents, we spend an awful lot of time going through the plan unit development and the original proposal, which was finally approved in 2023. That project, as you know, had 4 components. It had 3 residential components and a commercial component, all different villages within a unified PUD. The commercial is under construction right now with the Chick-fil-A restaurant at the far south corner. And we're here tonight to talk about some amendments that we'd like to request from you for the residential portions. Back in 2023, we had 2 development partners, Allrig USA as our commercial partner, and then a local, really well-known and high-quality local builder who is going to build our 3 components of residential. They were 2 townhome components and apartment components, all of which were anticipated to be 4 rent units. It was about 465 units of rental townhomes and apartments. Unfortunately, that developer wasn't able to gain financing for the project. They had to step away from the project, which delayed everything, and your commission and the council has been kind enough, or the board has been kind enough to give us a few extensions to keep this going, so we appreciate that. What we were able to do is really go out after we lost that first residential partner. We were able to go out and find absolutely the best-in-class residential developers, both Toll Brothers, and we have representatives from Toll Brothers here tonight, as well as Continental Properties. Toll Brothers will be our residential partner for the North and South Village. Those are both townhome villages. I'm going to talk in a minute about what's the same for the PUD, and then maybe more specifically talk about what's different. So Toll Brothers will be the residential townhome developer partner in North and South Village, and then Continental Properties is going to be our residential development partner for the Springs at Baldwin Village, which will be a 4-rent development, just as it was originally intended. It's important from my perspective to note that this project remains very, very on focus, very, very on point with what was originally promised, which was originally reviewed, and what was originally approved both by the Planning Commission, the board, and, as I say, most importantly, our message to the residents. So we are still providing a development that is has 4, I'll skip to it here, 4 different neighborhoods: North Village, South Village, the Springs, and then the commercial. What is different, and I think what's exciting about it, is from the Toll Brothers perspective, we're bringing in a national builder, really one of the best national builders in the country. And what's great about that is they have local experience and local credibility in Orion Township. They're currently building 2 different neighborhoods in Orion Township. They've been in the community for decades. and they're here because they know that this is a great place to work and a great place to build neighborhoods for local residents. Toll Brothers will be building the townhomes, and what's great about that is they are going from what was previously approved to be for rent units, about 161 for rent townhomes. Now there'll be 157. We're reducing it by just 4 units, but they're all going to be for sale. So we're going from a for rent product in the North and South Village to a for sale product. The townhomes have been improved in terms of architecture. The end units have become wider so that we have more living space on the first floor. They all have garages. In the North Village, previously the properties that were backing up to Gregory were 3 stories. We've brought all those down, so they've gone from 3 stories to 2 stories. We've oriented those to the fronts of the road. We've maintained sidewalks. We've maintained walking paths. We've maintained all the landscape and all the buffers. And so from a North and South Village, from a Toll Brothers point of view, what we're doing is, again, ever so slightly reducing the density, reducing the height of the buildings, improving the materials of the buildings, and converting them for what was anticipated to be for rent to for sale units. From a Continental point, well, let me go through and show you a couple of images of the Toll Brothers. We've worked closely with the fire department, of course, with the engineers and with the planners. All the buildings will be fire suppressed. The access has all been reviewed and approved, or at least letter of recommendation from your fire marshal. We've worked in pre-application and committee meetings at the architecture. The architecture for the Toll Brothers product has stone and masonry on the front. We've improved, and I'm not sure I show images here, but they were submitted in your packet. We've improved the architecture on the sides and the back to provide more detail in the gables, to provide more trim around the windows, to provide some real detail on all 4 sides of the building. Continental Properties is proposing to maintain the same number of apartments. 304 units were originally anticipated, and that's what we're proposing tonight. Previously, the plan included 3-story buildings with a center hallway. Continental has an awful long track record, and Sarah is here tonight and can go through an awful lot of detail, show more images than what I have here, depending on how much time and how many questions both you and the public have. We're happy to go a little bit deeper on either of these products, but Continental is really terrific. We've got 4 projects currently built and operational in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, and in but Wyoming, Michigan. So over on the other side of the street, we've got 4 projects currently being developed and being built on this side of the state, in Commerce, in Canton. Obviously, we're looking forward to moving forward in Baldwin Village as well. The project, as I said, are going from 3-story buildings with a center hallway to 2-story buildings with individual front doors. We think that's really important from just a livability point of view, from a neighborhood point of view, where we're bringing these buildings down, not only for our residents, they don't have to climb so many stairs, they don't have to walk down kind of that dormitory hallway, but they actually have a front door with landscaping, and you know, I used to say the pizza delivery guy can find my home. I suppose now it's Uber Eats or someone else like that, but it has an actual identity. We have all sorts of amenities that weren't formally part of the original PUD. We're now bringing in dog parks, amenity buildings. The previous plan had a clubhouse. This has a clubhouse with probably more amenities inside and out in terms of swimming pool, fitness rooms, shared kitchens, outdoor barbecues, all those types of things. So it's an awful exciting neighborhood. We think that from a surrounding point of view, we've got a street immediately to the north of us, and then, of course, the homes to the west of us, by both the Toll Brothers homes and Continental's homes coming down to 2 stories. We're really on par with the adjacent homes, so we don't have anybody that has a taller elevation Our site drops down significantly going towards Baldwin Road, so we're actually quite a bit shorter than most of the surrounding homes in terms of elevation. We had a previous meeting here with the Planning Commission. We had some really good feedback. We listened hard, and hopefully you'll see it in the plans that were submitted, that we made significant changes. The primary change, based on the messaging that we heard at our last meeting in June, was about circulation specifically to the Springs project. We had shifted our main entrance with our previous concept to be an individual entrance off of Baldwin, and we've now minimized that entrance. It still is an entrance, and it always was in the approved plan, but we've returned the main entrance to the Center Boulevard off the Judah Road roundabout. You'll come in that entrance, you'll go up, and just as it was before, just opposite the entrance to South Village, we now have the main entrance into the Springs. It'll be a full in and out entranceway. It'll be for residents to come and go on a daily basis. They'll still have an entrance a little further north on Baldwin, which will allow future residents, people to come to the sales office, to the clubhouse, and of course residents can come and go off of that entrance too. So we've got a main entrance on the original location, and then we've got a secondary entrance just as the secondary entrance was before. From a pedestrian access point, we've added additional access points since our last meeting. We've got 4 direct access points around the neighborhood, one to the, I always say north, but let's assume that north is to the top of my screen. We've got one to the north, one directly to the south, and then we have 2 access points, pedestrian access points, going from, I'll say, from right to left. And so this allows residents of North Village to traverse through the Springs if they'd like to do. It certainly allows all of our Springs residents to walk either to their friends in the North and South Village. It'll allow them to go to the restaurants in the commercial component part of it, and it'll allow them to walk down to Panera and all the other retail as well. So from a connectivity, from a circulation, both from a vehicular point of view and from a pedestrian point of view, we heard what you said. We made, in my opinion, significant improvements and really returned it to the original concept of creating this porous neighborhood where cars had options and maybe more importantly, pedestrians have options in terms of circulation. Other things that we've done from an improvement from the original plan to this new amended plan is we originally had a pocket park out on Baldwin Road open to the public. That pocket park remains there. We've added a second pocket park right at the corner. One is more of a butterfly type garden, but with benches and gazebos. I'm sorry, not gazebos, but pergolas. And then the other is a little more active park right at the entrance, right at that Judah Road roundabout, where both residents of Baldwin Village as well as just people walking up and down, riding their bikes up and down Baldwin Village certainly can stop and enjoy that. There'll be tables there, there'll be pergolas, an awful lot of landscaping, some different activities. So it's another public park that'll have access, not in the neighborhood, but out on the edge so that all of Orion Township can enjoy it. As I mentioned, we expanded landscaping. The pond with fountains is 40% larger. Really all the way around, it's become, in my opinion, a better project, a more refined project, but still very, very targeted to what was originally planned. So we don't, we're certainly here to answer questions, but we don't feel as though we're trying to say, hey, we wanted to do this, but now we're doing this. I think it's not only consistent, but it's better. Last thing I'll say is bringing on Toll Brothers and Continental Properties has elevated the project and elevated, I think, the timeline of finally getting this built and moving it forward. And Jordan from Allrig is here, our commercial developer. As soon as we brought these national developers in, national builders and national operators, what it's done is elevated the commercial. And so now we've got real commitments and excitement and timelines for the grocer that was always proposed there on the corner. So now we've got that grocer signed up, ready to move forward. We've got new restaurants that are coming. So as this property, after our first developer had the misfortune of not coming through with the financing, The whole thing kind of teetered. Chick-fil-A moved forward, but the whole thing kind of teetered for a few years. As soon as we brought in these new partners, made that public, started submitting to you as a township, we've gotten incredible activity with the retail. Jordan can give you more details on that if you're interested in some of those details. But it's an exciting time. We appreciate your patience. We're here to answer questions, and we do appreciate the consideration for these amendments to the PUD.
Yep, thank you very much. Appreciate that overview. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to have you step aside, and Jim, if you don't mind, I don't know if your computer will reach the side desk just to give everyone the podium. It might include you just
Do that, and
unplugging
if
for
you'd
the.
like, I'll leave this plan up in case.
Yeah,
anyone wants to refer.
either way, thank you. So at this time, I would like to open it up for the opportunity for citizens to state comments and questions. Again, one trip to the podium, no more than 3 minutes. If anyone's looking to make public comment on this case, now is your opportunity. If you want to step up to the podium, please start with your name and address. If anyone else is looking to speak, if you can just make a small line behind the first speaker, that's always helpful to keep things moving along.
Hello.
You can go ahead and pull that mic down. Thank you so much.
My name is Julie Branton, and I live at 3444 Gingell Drive, which is directly north of this entire project. We haven't heard anything from the developers about what they're going to do in between their property and our property. Are we going to have landscaping? Are we going to keep the beautiful wooded area that we moved into? The scenic, quiet space that we purchased our homes to have all of this going on? I don't want to see apartments. I did write a letter in stating my concerns, and I forgot to mention the traffic, because usually in the month of December, we can't get out onto Baldwin Road. We can't make a right to go anywhere near Great Lakes Crossing or I-75. This is going to make it terrible. I'm thinking 400, 500 more cars going in and out of that development, plus the retail down the way with Chick-fil-A, Shake Shack, and all those kind of things. We aren't going to be able to move out of our little space in there. So we're deeply concerned about what's happening. There's a deep ravine on the south side of Gingell. I wondered if these buildings are going to be raised up to ground level, or are they going to be built down into the hillside? However that's going to work, we would like to know. Those type of things need to be answered, because none of us are happy, of course, because it's going to be noisy, it's going to be dirty, and it's going to go on for years. So we lose our nice, quiet family space outside while this goes on, and we can't stop it. We can't stop progress, but we definitely have made my concerns in the letter for sure. And I'm curious to know if anybody can tell me by looking at the plans, where's the garbage going to go?
Again, public comments are directed to
I'm sorry.
myself solely as the chair, but you're okay.
Where are the garbage dumpsters going? I realize that the townhouse will have garage doors and they will have cans, but where are the apartments going to go? They don't have garages. I know that because we saw the plans from Mr. Mosheri previous to this and asked him, are there going to be garages with the apartments? No. So where are the trash bins going to go? I don't want them along the path where we live. We don't want the smell, the rats, anything else that comes with dumping into a garbage dumpster. So I don't see them anywhere on there unless they can show me. Before, we never saw those either, and they didn't know where they were going to put them. So that's a deep concern. We want the aesthetics of our place to still be nice and not be put next to a line of dumpsters, because the aesthetics of the plan itself, they might not want dumpsters in the middle, but we don't want them either. So I think that's kind of a big thing in the whole project. Yes, they're close to us. How close can they be to us as far as the property line goes? Is there a buffer zone, 50 feet, 100 feet? How close can they come to us, and how are they going to make that look nice in between? So when we drive up our driveway, we look out our doors.
If you could
we sit
wrap
on our
up your
balcony.
comments.
Pardon me?
If you could wrap up your comments.
Yes.
You're at your 3 minutes.
Those are just my comments, but I did put most of those things in my letter.
And that is will be it's in all of our packets, and it is in the record.
Thank you. Appreciate your,
Thank you. Thank you for your comments this evening. Additional public comments.
Not regarding this. I'm Sean Oddish, the applicant for Silver Spruce Plaza. I
Okay.
was here. I didn't know you were calling me up.
All right,
so I just wanted
no
to
worries,
mention
no worries. So just to clarify for the record, then this is comments in regards to the public hearing for PC 26-29. Why don't we close this public hearing and I'll reconvene that, is that okay?
Yeah, I had a concern that if any citizens were here and heard it closed, they now know that we will, after this one,
Okay.
reconvene that so they don't leave.
Yep, so to be clear, specifically, there was a couple of public comments during the previous public hearing. The applicant is present, that was my oversight, so we will open that public hearing back up just to hear the applicant's comments in regards to it. Apologize for that, and, but we'll conclude this public hearing and then proceed back to that one. Additional public comments in regards to the Baldwin Village public hearing. Any additional public comments for the Baldwin Village public hearing? Okay, seeing none, I will proceed. We did receive 2 letters in opposition from Mark and Julie Branton from 3444 Gingell Drive, and then from Mauricio Gonzalez Fernandez from 3440 Gingell Drive, both in opposition to the application. This time, I'll turn it over to the Planning Commission for their planning, or I guess their comments during the public hearing portion of this project. Any public hearing comments? Okay, seeing none. This would create the opportunity for the applicant to step back up to the podium if you so choose, to address any comments, questions during the public hearing portion.
I'd be happy to address some of Mrs. Branton's comments if you'd like.
Please, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I thought they were good comments. I appreciate her time in the letter. I'll kind of start at the bottom and work my way back up in terms of the notes I took. The garbage dumpsters are a good question, and Mrs. Branton is correct that the townhomes will all have individual interior garages with dumpsters. And I believe that, my mouse works here, I believe that Gingell Drive is right here, as you pointed out, immediately to the north. The dumpsters for the springs are about as far away from Gingell Drive. They're internalized in our parking lot here. You'll see them in your plans, and they are in your submission package. So they're right there in the center of it, behind our buildings, and there'll be both a compactor and a dumpster that will be privately maintained by the Springs. The Springs Continental Properties will continue to own and operate this, and as I said, they have properties throughout the Midwest and in about 5 or 6 different states, and so in terms of operation, they will be maintaining the compactor and the dumpster, and will be emptying that on a multi-time per week. But they're not along the northern edge at all. In terms of the northern edge, we are maintaining, as was considered in the original PUD, a significant landscape buffer. That existing tree line will remain, and then you'll see in our plans that we've provided pretty robust landscaping, so the existing tree buffer will remain. As Mrs. Barton pointed out, there's a swale there, the trees will remain, and then behind those trees, we're going to put in a significant amount of landscaping. Almost all of that landscaping along that northern boundary that's going in will be evergreen. Right now, it's a lot of deciduous, so in the winter you'd see through. So we're putting in evergreens. They'll have the existing deciduous trees and then the evergreens. In terms of traffic, we provided traffic analysis in our original plan, which was reviewed by the County Road Commission. It was certainly reviewed by the township engineer. We are essentially having the same density. We're reducing it only by 4, so I don't think from a traffic point of view that makes a statistical difference. But we are making road improvements. At all of our intersections, we're having A-cell and D-cell lanes. We're also adding a turnaround a little further south on the Baldwin Boulevard. So we've worked with the Road Commission of Oakland County and with your township engineers to make traffic road improvements to mitigate any additional traffic that would be coming in.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments during the public hearing portion?
Nothing else that I heard, but I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. I believe that closes our comments that we brought forth and addresses your opportunity to address any questions and comments. This item is later on in our agenda, so we will circle back to that with professional consultant reviews also. Since we did not have the Board of Trustees, I will close the public hearing for PC 26-29 at 7:40 PM. And I would like to reopen the previous public hearing case. If you want to step up to the podium for me, please. Again, I'm reopening the public hearing for Silver Spruce Plaza for PC 26-29 at 7:40. If applicant, sorry that I skipped over you earlier, if you have the floor.
Yeah, my name is Sean Onish on behalf of Silver Spruce Plaza, and regarding one of the comments was, about an accident that happened on Silver Bell. That had nothing to do with the entrance and people getting in and out. That was a garbage truck, and somebody got in front of him and he swerved. And that's to my knowledge, that's what it was, based off the video that I sent to the police, but it had nothing to do with people coming in and out of that entrance. As far as some of the comments made about, the gas station and the alcohol, this is just the drive-through window for the retail plaza. It has nothing to do with alcohol being sold. This is for a well-branded tenant to come in. They're premium brand coffee. They're in Birmingham, Plymouth, a few other locations, and they only operate from the hours of 7 a.m. till 3 or 4. Whatever was asked on that form. I forgot what it was exactly, but they're not going to be open later than that. They're all morning, breakfast, burrito, coffee items, just morning items. So it's not going to be later than that. None of their locations are. So, and I kind of forgot anything else that was concerned.
The noise was one of them, noise pollution and its proximity to the residential, traffic safety, which you've obviously addressed a couple traffic comments, but anything as in regards to noise?
I don't see this adding much more noise because people would be parked there anyways. People can travel through there anyways. It's not gonna really make much more noise than the, road going by over there. I just don't see that being an issue. And with the landscape that we put in, we've got some buffers there.
Understood. Any other additional comments during the public hearing portion?
No.
Okay. All right, so I will go ahead, since we've already run through any additional comments as it relates to anyone up here. Otherwise, I was going to close the public hearing. Go ahead.
I've got one question at this point. I know it's not on our agenda, but is the coffee shop a drive-through only, or is it a sit-down as well?
It's a sit-down as well, so they'd have patio seating as well, patio on the outside, and seating on the inside, which is part of the plans, and it'd be a fenced patio.
Take that entire suite?
It's going to take up more than the one we anticipated going in there. So they are going to be our largest tenant in there. I call it like an anchor tenant.
At this time, I would like to close the public hearing at 7:43, or once again, close the public hearing at 7:43 for PC 26-29. And I would like to reconvene our regular meeting. If you want to take a quick seat, because we're going to proceed with our agenda and we'll come back. We do have, we addressed our agenda review and approval, and that number 9, holy cow. Number 5 is brief public comment on non-agenda items. Any public comment on non-agenda items here this evening? All right, seeing none, we have no items on our consent agenda, and that leads us to our first order of new business, which is PC-26-32 AccuFelt Site Plan Amendment located at 4285 South Lapeer Road, formerly parcels 0935200032, 0935200033, and now combined parcels 0935200039. The applicant is present. If you want to make an overview, we'll proceed with yours, and then we'll go ahead and turn it over to our consultants for their reviews.
Good evening. Scott Kreitzer for J.B. Donaldson Company. We're the building owners, 37610 Hills Tech Drive, Farmington Hills, Michigan. So we're here to, I think our third trip here. We are looking to add a dumpster enclosure on the north side of the building. It will house a 40-yard dumpster and a 3-yard dumpster. It'll be made out of the like materials of the building. It will not be precast. It will be split face block with a cap on it. So it has fire retardant materials built for the gates. That was one of the stipulations by the fire marshal, so we adhered to that. We felt that the original plan showed the dumpster in the truck well, so we felt putting it inside the an enclosure will, help the aesthetics of the building on the north side, keep it much cleaner. It is actually about 8'4" tall, so none of the dumpster will be seen whatsoever. Second thing we are here for is at the front of the building, at the clear story, we're asking for a light cove to it's going to mirror the glass, so it's going to go up, over around the glass and back down. It is in a cove. I guess I'm having some technical difficulties here.
Might be appearing as like a second screen instead of a duplicate of your screen.
So we'll show you the dumpster first up in on the north side of the building right there. That's the layout of the dumpster enclosure. There'll be a 15-foot swing gate on the front to allow the dumpster to be rolled off. Then there'll also be a set of double gates that they can load the dumpster from the side. And there'll be a 3-yard dumpster behind that for miscellaneous trash materials with a double gate on it also. We've changed all of the asphalt around that to paving, to concrete paving. For durability. The colors are going to match the original scheme on the building, black doors and clear concrete. The light cove on the front, if we get a picture of that, Sean. So there's the front of the building. You can see it's about 40 feet tall. And the light cove is going to go up, over, around, and back down. It is in a cove, actually, so it's pointing straight down and straight in. There's no forward-pointing lights on it at all, and it's an accent light. It's not meant for lighting sidewalks or anything like that. The light will be able to change colors as far as temperatures. For white lights, it will be able to change colors to actually match the site lighting, and then they'll have the ability to also change colors to a red, blue, green, or an accent color. You can see the cove right there that we're going to build into the soffit up at the roughly 40-foot mark, 36-foot off the finished floor. And the light will be installed, like again, pointing straight down so it washes the glass. It's not meant or creating lumens on the sidewalk or any other portion of the parking lot or anything like that. The third thing we're here for is the landscaping and actually the concrete in the front of the building. We had shown a circular area for gathering on the first go-around of this. They've changed it a little bit and created more of a walking area and seating area that's going to be under the canopy of the front entrance of the building. And on this one, there's more to come. There's an extensive landscape design being done for the front of this with planters and concrete seating, more of a lifestyle area outside the front of the building on the side of the building.
So just to be clear, this 20-foot area that's a white box right now is intended to be landscaped, or is that what you're
That is all landscaping.
Okay,
It will
so
all be landscaped.
additional plantings are in that area. Okay.
Yep. It's actually a very attractive plan, which will be coming back again. that portion of it, unless we can hopefully do it administratively.
You know how much we love submissions, so.
So
Any
that-
other?
That's why we're here.
Okay, wonderful. So at this time, I'll turn it over, if you've concluded your comments, I'll turn it over to our consultants for their reviews, and then obviously we can discuss back and forth any question, comments, concerns. John, go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for your clear and concise plan. And I took a look at both the dumpster location, dumpster enclosure. It is similar materials in color. The location works. You are taking up about 7 banked parking spaces. That was originally approved. I don't think that's an impact at all based on the number of parking. The planning commission did give you a waiver on the number of parking spaces, so that works. I like the changes in terms of the employee area. I did have a question. The original plan had that circular patio area just on the left-hand side, and it was connected to what used to be called a man door. I don't know what they call it now, but it just looks like it goes right out to the truck drive area. As you can see, that small sidewalk there.
Yeah, that sidewalk leads to a walking path down to the front of the, down to the west side of the property, down by the pond.
Okay, so it's not connected to it was previously connected to the area where the employees could sit, and now, I didn't see the internal layout of the building, so they can come out there and then just get to a pathway around the site. Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct. And then this, as Mr. Reynolds spoke, there's going to be substantial seating in that 20-foot white box there.
Right, that's right.
That's going to be the new seating area.
Good, yeah, I got that, and I really like that. I think that'll be a nice amenity for the township and the employees, so. Really no issues with this except for those two. With the planning commission, take a look at the dumpster enclosure, which works, and then the walkway and the changes to the canopy. And we'll see the landscaping one way or another.
You're going to see it, yep.
All right, Mr. Landis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, similarly, we really don't have too many issues with this. We felt the changes were in compliance with your ordinances and engineering standards. We just had two comments, and one was concerned with the eastern doors swinging into the drive aisle. I don't know if the applicant can address that. And I think it looked like we were missing some details for the enclosure itself. Other than that, we're okay with plans.
Thank you very much. All right, this time I'll turn it over to the planning commission. I'll kick us off with a couple of comments. Tend to go ahead, Ms. Curling.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a bit of clarification. So the plan was received with a list of changes, and it was reviewed.
Yep.
It was discovered after that there was a little mistake, and some of the changes were missed. So that's where you have, for instance, the rendering of the dumpster says unreviewed. So in your suggested motions are, that we suggest that it be, if you so choose to approve, that it's conditioned upon whatever's found in the first review, plus with this new list of changes, and they were minor things, that the condition be related to they being re-reviewed for those couple other things. For instance, an example was the planner noted that some of the bank parking spots were lost. Some other parking spots were put in another section of the plan that wasn't called out in the changes. So they are all minor, nothing that I feel needs a waiver or anything from the planning commission, but just trying to explain the wording of the suggested motion.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. With that said, I think the changes submitted, in my opinion, are pretty straightforward and still within the original spirit and intent of the site plan that's approved. Perfectly fine, obviously, and it feels like the applicant's being fairly workable as it relates to some upcoming changes and things, and in my opinion, would even empower or suggest a condition that the understanding of that area be landscaped and be just re-reviewed by our staff, keep this project moving along. I don't feel like we need to speak to, Black Eyed Susans or Hostas or whatever, so I think our consultants can confirm that it's good, and if there's a concern, obviously, it could come back to us. So those are my comments. Additional comments during this portion. Gross?
The project is moving along very nicely, and it's been in conformance with our previously approved plans, and as we can experience or have experience with other plans, as a project of this size and magnitude progresses, there are changes that come along that are necessary as an improvement to the overall site development. So I think that the applicant has moved forward in good faith and in furtherance of the ordinance.
Agreed. I will also note that the fire marshal did review the plan and had no comments and was recommending approval. Same thing with WRC review. So again, maybe some outstanding comments that I believe our staff could work through administratively. And again, I think I understand the intent, even though not shown. I can imagine some nice landscaping out in front of the building. So additional comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. We can further deliberate from there.
Chairman, I move the Planning Commission approves PC 2632 Acufelt Site Plan Amendment located at 4825 South Lapeer Road, formerly parcels 0935 200 032, 0935 200 033, and now combined parcel 0935 200 039. For the plans, date stamped and received July 29th, 2026. Based upon the following findings of fact, that the application is moving forward and the modifications from the previously approved plan are in conformance with the intent and furtherance of the project and the ordinance. Approval is based upon the following conditions: that the Planning Commission acknowledges that the trash receptacle is located in the side yard because they have demonstrated that the side yard is an interior side yard or an exterior side yard, which is more viewable from a main road, and the distance from a road, natural screening, and sight light is acceptable. Secondly, that the resolution of the planner's review letter dated August the 13th, 2026, including any subsequent review comments related to the project, resubmitted for PC 2632, be complied with, and the resolution of the Township Engineer's review letter of August the 12th, 2026, including any subsequent review comments related to the project, resubmittals for 2632, and further that any landscape improvements and resubmittals can be accommodated administratively.
Support. Motion and support by Mr. Lovett. Further discussion by the Planning Commission. Seems pretty clear to me. Any discussion from the applicant?
No, I appreciate everyone's time.
Okay. Any public discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote, please. Again, this is a motion to approve with findings of fact and conditions to address open comments, including resubmission and administrative review of the landscape area. Roll call vote, please.
Walker?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Gross?
Yes.
Lovett?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Earl.
All right, moving right along on our agenda, this leads us to new business item PC-26-29, which is Silver Spruce Plaza Major PUD Amendment located at 3887 South Lapeer Road and 3901 South Lapeer Road, parcels line 0926-452-017. Is there anything you'd like to add? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to consultants for reviews. We can walk through. The floor is yours.
That is all.
Okay.
I've said everything.
Okay, wonderful. All right, at this point in time, I'll turn it over to our planner and engineer. Walk us through your comments, open items, anything that you would like to speak to. Go ahead, John.
Mr. Chairman, and the applicant and the residents who are here who had spoke in regards to this proposal. This is a business area. This has been approved as a business area. Drive-through uses are permitted under certain requirements and standards. And a drive-through coffee for a limited number of hours does appear to make sense here, but as I reviewed the plan, it's difficult for me to confirm that based on a variety of things. And you've got a copy of my review. There's some very close homes in proximity of this proposed drive-through. And with the drive-through, you have things such as a speaker box that may have issues associated with noise. I think I measured the nearest home is about 150 feet away from this drive-through area. And I wasn't able to see in the submitted plans any kind of screening or buffering in regards to noise and/or light and/or just visibility. There was no landscaping plan submitted with this that I was able to confirm that. And when we have a commercial use adjacent to a residential use, it's very important that the existing residents, if the commercial use is going to intensify or even go there in the first place, that some significant screening is provided. And so I wasn't able to make that determination based on the plan. There's some other issues in regards to the drive-through location and circulation and lighting. I'd like a more detailed project narrative of the drive-through, how it's going to work. The applicant has indicated a variety of things: time, operation, who they are, the window, the order area, where it's located, how it may impact employees coming out of the back of the retail building for a break, and will that impact any of the cars queuing up for the area. There may be a need for a parking waiver. I'm just not comfortable, based on the amount of information provided, commissioners, to be able to make a determination specifically on this use.
Okay, understood. All right, Mr. Landis, the floor is now yours if you want to walk us through your engineering review.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had several comments and overall felt the plan was not quite yet in compliance with your ordinances and engineering standards. Walk through our concluding comments and just give you a brief overview on those. Number one was with respect to the drive-through layout. We were asking for some one-way do not enter signage kind of in the northeast corner of the building because the traffic flow is going to change with the addition of the drive-through. 1B is pointing out that there's the redundant eastbound lane should be striped out. That would be adjacent to the drive-through lane. If you look at the plan now, there's just too many lanes of traffic. To avoid confusion, I think one of them should be striped out. 1C speaks to the need for some consistency between the site plan and the architectural plans for the proposed patio, and confirmation that there would be some bollards to protect those patrons on that corner. Item 2 is requesting a grading plan to be included in the resubmittal. Number 3 is pointing out that the traffic trip generation estimate that was put together has some math errors in it that should be corrected. That being said, overall, when you take into consideration the pass-by trips, it was our opinion that an updated traffic study would not be warranted, although that's certainly within your purview to request. Number 4 was asking for a pavement cross-section to be included for the reconstruction area. Number 5 points out that the previously approved PUD plan had on it 2 pedestrian connections coming from the pathway on M24 and Silver Bell, and neither of those were constructed yet, so we're asking that those be added to the plan and be striped out. Number 6 also speaks to a couple changes that were made to the originally approved plans that should be reflected on this, just to have a consistent plan moving forward. Number 7 speaks to the same with respect to the detention pond. And lastly, number 8.
Mr. Landis, hold on just a second. Excuse me, any comments, sidebar comments, can you please take them out to the lobby? That gets heard up here and we can't hear our consultants. I apologize, but go ahead, proceed, Mr. Landis.
Number 8 just points out that there are many outstanding closeout documents from the original PUD that have yet to be submitted. There's our recommendation that those get completed prior to approving any construction of this amendment to be moved forward.
Okay, thank you very much for that overview. There was a review from our fire marshal and offered no additional comments at this time. Same thing from Public Services, did review the submission. So before I turn it over to the Planning Commission, thoughts from the applicant. There's obviously some outstanding issues on how you'd like to proceed here this evening, or additional information you can offer.
Regarding the outstanding items, those are being wrapped up by my contractor. Was there any in particular that?
Well, I think there's, yeah, Mr. Landers, make sure you're in your microphone, please.
I must have turned it off.
Sorry about that.
There's a
Thank you.
final field inspection that needs to be completed yet, as well as the landscape inspection.
So in addition to, I guess, the closeout documents from the initial phase or additional approval, there's some items, obviously, as it relates to the submission for the revision that our consultants are outlining in their reviews for requesting additional information. So I guess I'm asking, is
Yeah,
there?
so the only one that I'm aware of is the landscaping, and I'm handling that with my landscaper that's working on that stuff. But the other items are all with my contractor. And I believe he's been working on this and getting it closed out.
Okay, so what about in regards to, I guess, the comments brought forth by our consultants? You received copies of all of these letters?
Yes.
So items 1 through 10 on our planner's review, items 1 through 8 on the engineering review that just got read?
Yeah, so there was, I know somebody was working with Tiana on correcting some things, and I'll have all that corrected.
So is it your intent, I guess where I'm struggling here is there's some additional information that we're looking for, right, to discuss this request, right, to amend your PUD. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think it's some pertinent information to the discussion as us as a planning commission.
Okay.
So I'm just asking if that isn't brought forth this evening, is there an intent to kind of bring forth
Absolutely.
additional information?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and I'm just trying to work with you here, right, to where what we can do is consider a postponement, to obviously have the opportunity to submit that additional information that we're looking for. Obviously, I don't believe the Planning Commission is going to proceed with anything if the original component isn't closed out, if there's some points of clarification that need to be received.
Well, the original component was dependent on that building getting finished. I mean, and, most of it was landscaping, and, that's being addressed.
Okay, I'm not here to obviously do a he said, she said, but sounds like there's more than landscaping, that there's a bunch of closeout documents that need to be submitted for the initial phase.
Yes, which is being handled by my contractor, and I will make sure that they submit everything, and I've been on him on that.
Okay.
And I thought, I know he emailed something last week, and I believe that the township was on it, so I thought you guys received it.
And I think what the chairman is indicating is that the idea of a drive-through there can work, but the amount of information that we have right now makes it difficult to make that decision. For example, some simple things such as the location of the speaker box. Will there be any additional lighting? You do have approved landscaping, but because of the additional traffic and the cars queuing up, is there a need for additional landscaping or screening? I don't have the answers to those, so they can't make a decision based on a conversation back and forth. They need to see the record in a plan.
Yeah, thank you, John.
So how about this, as far as all the closeout items, I know because we did the gas station first and then we did the retail center second. So there wasn't a way to close everything out at once when we initially started the project. So I will make sure that all the closeout items are completed as requested by the township. And as far as the speaker and location of that, the tenant is going to come back for an approval once that's going to get put in. So as far as location of that can be approved at a later time. But what the tenant wants to know is whether he's coming in here with a drive-through or he's not going to come in here. So.
Okay, and just to be clear, the way the PUD amendment, we're amending your PUD.
Yeah.
Right, so another change would be another full amendment. So the way your project was initially approved is because of the structure of PUD that I don't think we're necessarily looking at there being a second submission, right? We're looking for that information now. It sounds to me, obviously, like you're looking for an understanding of, could you get a drive-through? But those details are what we're gonna need to discuss approving it.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I mean, I thought that he was talking about exact location of the drive-through and how loud that speaker is. I don't know the equipment that he would.
It is. To be clear, that is what we're talking about. So it sounds to me like there might be a little bit of a not there yet with tenant, but, or whoever might be there. The issue is those are all things that, with a drive-through specifically as a planning commission, are all things that we're concerned about. What is the speaker? What is the unit? Is it gonna be louder than how? Correct, all of that, right? So I can understand from obviously a landlord developer standpoint that you don't have all of that, but you can see where we're struggling a little bit to say, we've gotten the first kind of step, the public hearing portion out of the way, but is there enough for us to really wrap our head around this and make sure we're good? So I guess I can't tell you how to proceed from here. It doesn't seem like all that information is developed. We're always looking to be workable, and keep this moving forward, but those are some of those details we want to get through, and if we can, speak to terms of addressing our ordinance requirements, even though you don't know that it's a whatever brand speaker box, but have things identified and have the parameters that we can feel comfortable with. There may obviously be a little different temperature to proceed, knowing that, whatever Starbucks is going to use versus whoever second, company or whoever you're looking to have as an anchor tenant. I guess I don't want to demand the floor, but I think some of these other components being reviewed need to at least be spoken to. John had spoken to kind of a narrative. That's a lot of times what we'll see for hours of operation, how things are functioning, pedestrian safety, all of those. Again, you have a drive-through approved previously. We had talked about some of these proponents that were in that package initially. I think we're looking for that and making sure this is a little different layout. It's making some changes to the site. We want to make sure all of that kind of bundles up nicely. Additional comments from planning commissioners? I guess I'm kind of looking at a postponement at this point. Mr. Walker, go ahead.
We have been doing this a long time, and 18 requests from our consultants is a lot. So there's 18 items they've got. They talked a little bit about safety. That one concerns me the most. And I'm trying to think, because of that configuration of that intersection, you've got one lane that suddenly goes into 4 lanes, and it sounds like just about where you're going to put the driveway. Excuse me. Could you give some thought to reversing that, having that as the entrance, have them come in off of Silver Bell and exit off of 24?
What was the 1 lane turns into 4 lanes where?
I believe we're in reference to the intersection going westbound on Silver
Going
Bell
west.
into the intersection of Silver Bell and M24.
Where the station is, the corner, that's corner. Where it goes from 1 lane to 4 lane.
Okay. And what is the, that has nothing to do with me. I mean, I'm
No, that doesn't, well, in a way it has to do with you, but you didn't design the intersection. But my concern is you're gonna have, putting a lot of cars right into that intersection. And I don't know about the accident, who caused what, that accident. But to me, if you could have an entrance coming off of Silver Bell and go around the back of the building to leave, would that work? Would that solve that problem?
Well,
That's
so,
just my thought. I'm just
I
thinking
mean,
out
with,
loud, that's all.
with adding this drive-through, it's, with adding this drive-through, it's, you know, people have to be on the driver's side window, so that's where people would, you know, are you referencing and reversing how the drive-through is set up?
That one window, yeah, yes.
But, I mean, it has to be on the driver's side window.
Coming
You're talking about
south.
site access, correct?
Correct.
Limiting turn movements from the,
That's right.
correct. Limiting, go ahead, Mr. Landis.
I understand Mr. Walker's comment. I believe what he's looking for is to have the existing driveway on Silver Bell be made into a right-in, right-out only. So
Yeah,
to introduce a pork chop similar to what you have on the drive on M24 to prevent left turns out of the drive on Silver Bell. Correct?
I believe that's what you're referring to.
Okay, so he was talking about
In our-
restricting access.
The access.
Yeah, so, I mean, right now, the gas station has a lot of traffic, you know, pulling in and out every day, and there hasn't been any issues. That garbage truck, from the video that I saw, it looked like he was going too fast, and he broke, and he swerved out, and the truck just, it had nothing to do with my entrance. I would not be interested in making that right in, right out. I developed this project with getting Oakland County, the Road Commission's approval on a full access entrance, and I bought the property next to that to be able to get that entrance, because I had to have it so many feet away from the light, so I didn't, you know.
Understood.
Real quick.
I'm going to go ahead and put a motion to postpone on the table. We can have some additional comments as direction, but I move that the Planning Commission postpone action on PC 26-29 Silver Spruce Major PUD Amendment located at 3887 Lapeer Road, 3901 South Lapeer Road, parcel 0926 452-017, referencing plans date stamp received July 20, 2026, to allow for the applicant to provide additional clarifications and address comments from both the Planning Commission and our consultants. I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Support of, okay. So further deliberation, go ahead, Mr. Jones. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Lovett.
Yeah, I tend to agree with our consultants here. I think that a drive-through has the potential to work, but we're just missing
Yeah.
part of the picture, right?
And so just list out the items you need as far as what equipment they'd use, how many decibels it is, and I'll also address all these outstanding items for the site as a whole.
Yep.
I will get that addressed, and you know, whatever it is in regards to the drive-through window getting approved for that retail center, just let me know whatever it is you need, and I have to get that from the tenant. And he's
Yeah,
gonna find out.
understood. We understand there's a back and forth, and we
Yeah.
understand that some of these things can be big picture, and it's not all the details. I would say, that's why I kind of pointed out these letters, is please go back to those. Our consultants go through these plans in depth. You heard some of the public comments as it relates to obviously setbacks, speaker volume, all of those things, and you can understand why obviously hours of operation, including comments from Mr. Walker as it relates to traffic, that unfortunately, retail versus drive-through traffic is not the same trip count, right? Which is why it's part of our review and our comment packet. So if you could, I guess, work with our staff and get something resubmitted for us that clarifies these, I think it would be a much better discussion, a little more developed, obviously some back and forth from there. Additional comments from Planning Commission?
Not to beat a dead horse,
Go ahead, Ms. Gross.
but I'm confused on how this whole traffic thing can work. Anybody going northbound on Lapeer Road right now, entering the site, would have to go back around the gas station, behind the building, to gain access to the drive-through window. You cannot go directly to the drive-through window. So there's an awful lot of movements that require, because if he goes north to the drive, he cannot make a U-turn to get to the drive-through window. So he's got to go all the way around the gas station to the stacking lane and then to the drive-through. So I think that's very confusing, and I'm confused with it, so.
I understand what you're saying, and, but it's anticipated that most of the traffic for the drive-through of the coffee shop is going to be coming from Silver Bell, because that's how people are going to work. You know, going north on M24, it's usually never been a morning side, but the traffic that, you know, we do get for the morning business is coming from Silver Bell, from the residents behind us going to work. I understand what you're saying, and that wouldn't even, you know, happen after 4 o'clock. Our heaviest hours are after 4.
So I think all the more reason, some of that narrative, some of that additional information, that's all helpful conversation.
And
So,
because I thought about exactly what he said, but, you know, just based off of how our business runs and when that's going to close. And I don't know how many people are going to actually use the drive-through for that business. It's usually people are going and sitting down and having coffee and breakfast, so.
understood. Additional comments, including that of the applicant or that of the public? You could step aside from the podium for me, please, and go ahead. And there's a motion to postpone on the table right now.
Yes, Brian Kelly, 3759 Highdale Drive, in Lake Orion. I'm confused a little bit. First of all, there is a drive-in attached, a road and everything between the two buildings. There is a drive-in window in the gas station. It's not working, but it's there. Secondly, they're proposing a second drive-in option at the far north end of the complex. And driving through there today, the way I came into the place, well, first of all, so the question is, are they going to have 2 drive-in windows or 1? And if we approve the drive-in, does it automatically approve both buildings? Because I would want to ensure that they cannot sell in any way alcohol beverages, beer, wine, whiskey, whatever shape it comes in, through that drive-in window that's in the gas station. Okay, now, I drove that way this morning, and you can drive in off of, like the gentleman was saying, you can go west off of Silver Bell, and you can pull in behind the gas station, you can go behind the gas station and go into the drive-through between the two buildings, the retail center and the gas station, or you can continue on to the far end of the building, which I presume is where they want to build the second drive-through. And if they do that, you come out around the front, and then you can really only do one of 2 things. You can exit onto M24, or you can drive all the way back and then exit back on the Silver Bell. Now, the problem is, and I don't know what the highway department's planning on doing, but there was talking about putting some kind of island or something in there on M24 so that people who are on Morgan Hill or Morgan Road right there cannot cross over to the turnaround that goes southbound on 24. So there's some other elements that have to be considered here as well, that's all. And I'd like to know that, are they building 2?
Oh, so I can clarify that for you. So the original PUD did include the drive-through window that is currently installed in the gas station on the corner.
And they can use that?
That is set up and approved as a drive-through. It was in the original PUD. The request that we're discussing here tonight is for an additional drive-through window on the retail center, which would be the building to the north, for what is proposed at this point as a coffee shop.
So I know this is not supposed to be back and forth.
No, it's a little different. I just want to bring some clarity to it, and I will say, you know, maybe recommendation for the next presentation to bring those plans, so again, we can bring the clarity for those in the public too.
Yeah, and then just generally clarification as to whether or not they can sell alcoholic beverages through the drive-in window that's there now.
I don't know what's approved in the PUD right now. You'd have to look at that. Understood. Your comments are understood on the record. It would be how it was written in the previous thing, and I don't even know if there's liquor commission approval for that anyway.
That's another, that's what I was wondering, does the state even allow it? Yeah.
So, understood. So just to be clear, the discussion here this moment and what the motion on the table right now is to postpone any deliberation, right? But the application is to amend the site plan to add a drive-through window to the retail center on the north side and a window on that north side.
Great. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Reynolds.
no, thank you. All right, further public comment on the motion. All right, again, a roll call vote to postpone. Go ahead, Tammy.
Gross.
Yes.
Lovett.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you back. All right, that leads us to unfinished business, PC 26-21, Baldwin Village Minor PUD Amendment for all the unaddressed parcels and addresses previously stated in the record. You want to step up to the podium, the floor is yours. If there's anything you want to add, if not, I can go ahead and turn it over to our consultants for their reviews.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just take just a couple minutes and maybe more in a more organized fashion, just go through what we're specifically asking for the amendments.
Perfect.
So what we have in front of you on the screen is a comparison from the 2023 plan to the 2026 plan. As you can see, they look very, very similar. Again, Mrs. Burton pointed out some items on the north side along Gingell Drive, and you can see that our buildings are being pulled actually further away from Gingell Drive, the preserved woodlands and the landscape that we talked about. Still have 4 villages, still have townhomes, duplexes, apartments, and commercial. The original plan was proposed to have 5 access points, working with the road commission, and those 5 access points remain in the exact locations as they were previously reviewed and approved. Preservation of the significant wetland and the natural feature setback remain in place. Nothing there changes whatsoever. All the buffers, specifically on all the buffers, but specifically on the west and on the north, all remain exactly as they were, and the landscaping is exactly as it was, or actually enhanced with some additional trees that we moved around and added. Landscape and open space remains the same. It does change a little bit because of the configuration, but we were at 15% before. With the original plan, we are 15% now. I think if you look at the 2 plans, specifically within the Springs, we do have additional buildings, 4 additional buildings within the Springs project. However, we are reducing some of the buildings in the North and South Village. So net, we have 3 additional buildings across the whole site. As we talked about, they can come down. But if you just look at the Springs area, although there are more buildings because of the 2-story versus the 3-story, I think what you'll see if you compare the upper 23 plan and the lower 26 plan is I don't think we're as efficient as we could have been with the original plan in terms of circulation. Really what we are eliminating there is a lot of paving, because each of these buildings has rear-loaded garages on each of the Springs buildings. So we have both surface parking and rear-loaded garages. The original Mosheri plans had N-unit garages, so we had parking on 2 sides of them and then circulation between the buildings with N units. We had fewer garages before, more surface parking. In this case now we're switching to rear-loaded garages, more garages, less surface parking. So net, our open space remains the same. What we've tried to do, and I'll show you in a blow-up, is create more courtyards, more grill areas, more usable space for our residents, as opposed to just kind of leftover buffer green space. With Toll Brothers, as we mentioned, we're converting all of them to for sale. We've got a slight reduction in units. We've modified the architecture, both in terms of interior amenities, interior size. The buildings have become about 2 foot wider on each N unit, and we're eliminating the 3-story buildings on the north. The previous townhomes were for rent. That northern area was all 3-story, and there was 3 different types of buildings. The Toll Brothers product has two different types of buildings now. We've got the duplexes on the South Village along Peppermill. Those were always intended to be duplex buildings, two-story buildings, so they really match the homes behind them. They're in the exact same location, exact same landscaping. The interiors have changed a little bit. Again, they've got about 2 foot wider on both sides, so it's a slightly larger, more usable unit, but architecturally, from a scale point of view, it's exactly what was anticipated. The townhomes are a series of 4-unit buildings, 5-unit buildings, all the way up to 7-unit buildings. It's just based on the configuration. Each of them have garages, individual entranceways, obviously, and are 2-story buildings all the way through North and South Village. With the Springs, again, a little bit of a comparison to what's new. You can see in this plan, we've got the dog park to the north, the garbage dumpster and compactor area in the south. We have fewer buildings along Baldwin Road. So now what we have is, and I'll show you in a minute here, well, I'll just jump to it. We've got a lot more green space along Baldwin Road. So we've eliminated one of the buildings on Baldwin Road. We've added an additional park. This is a shot of our butterfly garden with the clubhouse and the apartments further to the back. So we've moved the buildings back. We've improved the landscape and the open space along Baldwin. And as we talked about, we increased that pond with the fountains by 40% larger. So it's really going to be a beautiful statement coming down Baldwin. The homes that are along Baldwin Road, we have the 2 buildings that are between Judah Road and the entrance. They're elevated. We've got about 80 feet of fall from the western side of this site to the northern side, so the homes terrace down both within the North Village and then throughout Springs. Along Baldwin Road, we have obviously the existing safety path. We're improving that landscaping. We're adding a number of decorative terraced walls, and so the actual buildings will be set back and behind several rows of landscaping and those beautiful walls. This is the Orchard Plaza, which I spoke about earlier. This will be right at the northwest corner of Judah Road roundabout in that main entrance that goes into both the commercial, the townhomes, and the main entrance to the Springs. This again is another publicly open park. It'll have a little more activity in terms of gathering areas, landscaping, and pergolas and different opportunities. Open both to all residents of Baldwin Village as well as all residents of Orion Township. In terms of not only what changed from the original PUD, but what we've modified after hearing your feedback from the June meeting, is we've reoriented that main entranceway to internally as it was always originally shown. We've added additional pedestrian access points throughout the Springs, so it really becomes a very porous neighborhood in terms of that original concept of connectivity. The pond is larger. We've added the parks both internally with the grill areas, the courtyards, the green space between the buildings, as well as the parks along Baldwin Road. And we've expanded the landscape primarily along Baldwin Road. It's really been kind of the mantra of this project to make sure that that gateway image right from Morgan Road all the way up on Baldwin remains just absolutely beautiful, and so we're committed to that. The previous plans, again, were for the apartments were for rent. They were the 3-story center hallway buildings. We had 11 buildings. We now have 15, but again, net, we're adding 3 buildings to the overall site. You had the garages at both ends, which again, I think added more pavement, less green space, and so we've corrected that here. They had siding and paneling. Our new buildings are all hardy board and masonry units. The new buildings are 2-story. I'm being repetitive, I recognize that. Front doors, 20 to 24 residences per building compared to that 36, so they're a little bit smaller buildings. We have rear-facing garages, so you won't see any of the garages from Baldwin or really even from interior to the site. 100% hardy and masonry, a lot more community spaces and activity areas. And then we've got 5-foot sidewalks interior to our site. The reason we're doing that is because we're actually providing 64 feet of space, a 20-foot parking stall, 24-foot drive lanes, and so that 5-foot sidewalk, unlike, say, a retail center where you might see a 7-foot or deviations, we're showing a 5-foot sidewalk for your review, which gives it more of a residential feel, less of a commercial feel, but still gives plenty of room in those 20-foot parking spots for circulation, meets all the ADA standards and pass-by standards and so forth. The clubhouse, as I mentioned, is a little bit smaller than the last clubhouse, but still a really large building with a lot of amenities, both interior and exterior, office space, community rooms, leasing center, fitness center, and then the pool and the outdoor kitchens outside. Looking forward to responding to the consultants. I have Sarah Johnson here from Continental who can talk specifically to some of the review comments as well. We'll call Sarah up when it's appropriate and answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, at this time, I'll turn over to our plan reviewer for his comments. If you want to kick us off, John?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Jim, thanks so much for the detailed overview. I don't think that's the plan that you have up there.
Agreed. I believe it's an old rendered plan. It's not an accurate plan of the
Doesn't show our
current,
new
so,
entrance, but-
yeah.
Thank you, John.
Okay, good, thank you. So I guess for the commissions, and I don't have to tell you this, but I've been thinking about this project because it is,
Sorry, John. Just to be clear, the plan that is rendered here, even in 2026, still, it's the last submission. So it's all good, but I'm just saying, that-
Right, there's the current one. I apologize for that.
does this one have the drive? Okay, all right.
Drive-through, right?
Okay, yep, okay, all right. Yeah, that's my trigger point, is that
Yeah.
one there, so.
No,
thank
you're
you.
exactly right.
Just
Thank
so everyone's on the same page and while we're getting into details, so.
This one, well, it's important, so thank you for pointing this. This has the main entrance at.
Yeah, non-boulevard,
Road
thank you.
And the reduced entrance at Baldwin. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, John, sorry to take your thunder.
no, that's all right. I'm, like I said, I've been thinking about this project and the importance of this project, and I don't have to understate that with the commission and the applicant and everyone here, is that this project took a long time to work through. And I understand that there's changes and changes in ownership and changes of developers, and that's happened over the course of several years. But I do know this planning commission and the township board took a lot of time to make this work. And it really overall is a great project, especially tying in the commercial uses, the towns at the North Village, the South Village area are all workable, and I'm very supportive of those. But I think it's important for the planning commission to know is that you're the final say in this plan. Now, this isn't a major amendment, but it is a minor amendment, so it doesn't go up to the board. And so the final decision of how this looks is the planning commission's decision. So I just kind of, we get mixed up sometimes with our PUD and our process and the board. This is a minor modification, a minor change, modification.
The amendment.
Right, so it's an amendment to the PUD, and that's the planning commission's role. So, that being said, thank you, Jim, for, as always, doing a good job explaining the changes. I believe that you heard the planning commission mostly when you were last in regards to this term that we keep throwing out there, which is so important for this, which is cohesiveness, and how is this plan all tied together. And I really believe that you're getting there with the new access point, and the important look along Baldwin. I think that's gonna look great. I do have some concerns still, but the plan, this is gonna ultimately, again, be the planning commission's decision is, does this overall layout for these apartments work at this location? Or maybe better said, if we took this use and put it on a separate piece of land, would this be something that the planning commission would entertain in terms of the layout and the design? All of the things that were talked about tonight make sense in regards to what it's going to look like on Baldwin. I do have some concerns with the landscaping and the buffering on the northern side, we had a resident here who had expressed some concerns. This generalized layout does show green space, but I think there is less landscaping based on my review of the plan, or less buffering on that northern side than what was originally approved. So that's a concern. The access and the mountable roundabout at that location may cause some issue. That's going to be an engineering question. The clubhouse is smaller than originally approved, but looks like a pretty cool area for the residents. I've got a lot of smaller, not picky issues, but they're typical issues that a PUD works with, and we can work through those. Those are signage sizes and other things. But I think the big question, commissioners, is does this overall plan work together? And I think that the Springs is still a question, at least in my mind, for further discussion. Again, they've made some significant advances on what we've talked about over the past. And there may be more, but I think that's worth a discussion with the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Mr. Landis, you want to walk us through your engineer review?
Excuse me. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The changes from the previous submittal were pretty straightforward from an engineering standpoint. We were only left with two outstanding comments. One was with respect to the landscaping plan. There were some street trees that were planted within the proposed township water and sewer easements. We were asking for those to be adjusted if possible. Number two, there were many instances where sidewalk adjacent to head-end parking is only 5 feet wide, and as you know, we typically recommend those to be 7 feet to allow for some vehicle overhang. And then third, that they obviously be required to proceed with engineering following any approval.
Okay, thank you for that overview. There was a review from our fire marshal who had some comments as it relates to just clarification of gate details being removed from the plan because they're no longer being utilized, and then also just concerns with the truck turning template at the front entrance gate to the Spring development. So I don't know which entrance that is, but either way, those are some comments to be addressed. There was a Department of Public Services review on the project along with WRC in our packet this evening. And as noted during the public hearing, there was a few citizen letters that are included in our packet this evening. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Planning Commission for their initial thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, and then we can have some deliberations. Who wants to kick us off? Mr. Levitt, go ahead. The floor is yours.
So a couple buildings were added. How does that, I'm struggling to wrap my head around the open space calculation with large buildings being added, and somehow we're still within, because I think the original plan was pretty close to that 15% as well. So I'm just curious to know how that was made up for.
I think Jim would be better able to answer because that is a good question. I calculate if I'm looking at the Springs, the original plan had almost an acre of usable open space. And that term usable open space is important. It's not detention areas, it's not the steep slopes behind the detention walls in the northeast corner. It was usable in terms of those residents could use that. And I don't know if that area specifically has that percentage. So I think that would be a better question for Jim to answer because I don't have the answer.
Okay. Yeah. I got one more.
Let's go ahead and we'll get a few comments going and then we'll have some back and forth if you don't mind.
I got one more question, or I have one more question, sorry.
You got it.
The size of the detention pond grew massively. Is that because of there's more roof area between the first and second?
It was not a requirement of ours. I would have to defer to the applicant as to why that was decided to be enlarged.
All right, so let's gather a few comments and I'll give you the floor back. Who else? We'll get a dialogue going, but I don't want to go like ones and twos back and forth if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind. Because it might be similar echoed comments if we can get everyone to lay some thoughts out, and then we'll get back to those, but I'm taking some notes here. Well, it's additional comments.
Yeah, just some comments, excuse me. I do appreciate some of the changes. I like the roundabout, that was a big one for us last meeting, I know. Getting access into that part of the development. I would be curious, I know there's a 35-foot setback on the north side from the property line, but I'm curious with the landscaping, if there's some more detail in terms of feet from that fence and then inside, what that landscaping looks like. Just, trying to honor some of the questions we've received from some of the residents tonight. So just some more detail on that landscaping were I guess, one of my major concerns with this. Everything else, I think, I like all the upgrades. I like, again, that roundabout, that access point, huge. Getting that, keeping that traffic internal, not making them go out onto Baldwin Road is a big one for me.
I'll add a couple of comments. Contradicts your thought maybe just a little bit. I know we had talked about the drive circle getting brought in, and I appreciate the effort by the applicant to bring that back. I'm questioning whether it really successfully resolves, maybe let me reframe this. It doesn't create additional issues with it being quote-unquote a traffic circle. It seems to me like there's some movements that could occur south of, I believe, would be the mountable traffic circle, and then also movements north of that. So I'm wondering, just from an engineering perspective, if there's any concerns. Again, we were looking for that connection back to the main development, so I appreciate that being added. I'm just questioning whether it's best fit as a traffic circle at this point, or it's better fit as just an intersection. I know our comments, or our previous comments echoed, that the traffic circle, and I think what we're echoing is that was a point of connection, a hub. So I don't want to hang my hat on so heavily of a traffic circle if it's creating traffic issues. If someone can tell me that my concerns are crazy, I'll be quiet. Additional thoughts, I tend to agree. The landscape, it seems like although it is nicely landscaped, buffers are always huge, right? And I think a big thing for me when we looked at this development initially was transitions between areas, even though this is one PUD and it implements creative zoning tools because of that. It feels like, the transition between the apartment and then also kind of what would be the western development, you got paving right up to the edge of a fence and then a few, street trees, and then it's right back to more additional paving. How I would look at that is if this were an independent development, no different than, any other parcel, which is what this is trying to kind of do now, is look internally. And yes, we've asked for more connectivity because that was the foundation of the PUD, is, those buffers as they exist right now, are they adequate? All right, so that's just my thought. It seems like the one to the west is still a little slim. The one to the north, I agree, there's the setback there, but it also, is it enough, is just one of my comments. Additionally, the open space calculation to me was a little bit puzzling, that it stayed the same, because maybe it's just perception, but it seems like, how did we maintain when it looks like there's more paving and we've gained units? And especially with our regulation, I think, speaking to that of like that it isn't detention, it isn't those areas, I'm questioning whether the calculation is accurate, no offense to the applicant themselves. Just would like to have a second check on that one. And to be clear, this is a big development, there's a lot going on here. I understand, that there might be changes with developers, development partners, financing, all those things that will prompt that. I'm well aware of that in both as my role as a planning commissioner and also my, professional practice. I still am struggling a little bit with trying to promote. I understand that the Baldwin Road entrance was reduced down, the boulevard was removed, I think, to kind of downplay that. There might have been, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe some utilities that played into that. But what is being done that promotes the traffic, even if it's not from a prospect, but rather a resident, to try and get them to utilize the traffic circle and to utilize you know, again, our effort was to minimize curb cuts on Baldwin Road with the traffic circles, and are we really doing that by kind of having, we can call it whatever we want to call it, that it's a main entrance for residents, but from a planning purpose and an architectural feature standpoint, does it really speak to itself as the primary resident, you know, as the primary residential access? So that would be some thoughts I would like to hear from the applicant. I initially, in my first kind of review of everything, but as I'm pulling it back up here again tonight, we had spoke to kind of architectural upgrades to sides and rear of those residents. I didn't see them on the plan initially, but I see them noted on the plan. So just as we proceed, I would like that just kind of noted for the record. I think the renderings are showing that accurately. The elevations, although noted and bubbled on the plans, the elevations are still the old style. And I think what we're referring to that is that they were very flat. There wasn't trim. There wasn't some architectural features like we saw in the previous development, and we were asking for the applicant to address that. Therefore, they're addressing it in just a verbal comment versus a re-rendering that. So those are a few of my comments to kick us off, and I'll open up the floor to additional planning commissioners.
I have one.
Go ahead, Mr. Levitt. Go ahead.
Maybe a little bit too far in the weeds for
Nope.
a PUD, but just on the wording of a PUD, it talks about architectural,
High-quality architecture.
high-quality architectural. Is that purely based off of this development? Or do we spread that across the township, because these buildings are, we see a lot of plans and they're starting to look very similar to one another?
It's your determination.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a point, Mr. Levitt, I'll just say it's a point, and it's a criteria point for a PUD. So that's why it's asked on a PUD and why it's brought up and why you see it sometimes in our motions. But yes, as a whole, you know, we don't necessarily have strict design standards for every little thing, but there are design influences via the ordinance. So that's why it's a little more ridiculed in a PUD, is because it is part of it, and therefore, again, what you're seeing submitted, and similar to the last application for a point of question and clarification, is it is zoned what you see. It is not zoned a straight zone component. It is zoned PUD. There is the language attached to it. There's the plan attached to it. There's all of this. There is no, hey, revert back to the standard language. The language is developed and then therefore followed through on with this development as you see it. And to echo John's initial point, since this was already previously approved and it's coming back for changes, it's coming back as a PUD, minor amendment. So therefore, we are not a recommending body here this evening. We are the final say. There is no coming back to us with a second reading with this, just so everyone is clear. Additional thoughts?
There was a question raised as to the change from 3-story to 2-story. I frankly don't have a problem with that. I think 2 stories is probably more characteristic of the surrounding area than 3 stories would have been. I know it creates another building, but overall, I think the plan, I'm pretty satisfied with. Your question about the roundabout and the interior of the plan is, I can see the pluses and minuses of that. It could be nice, but it could be confusing, as all roundabouts are.
I know they're not our favorite subject always, but I guess my whole thing is just clarity of movements through the intersection, right? Is if it's going to add, I would easily not stick to that if it meant it was going to create accidents.
I'm sure they'd be happy to take that out.
Well, they've added the connection back, which I think fundamentally was where the
what we
comment
wanted.
was driven, right? Whether it's back at a traffic circle, however, but I would leave it to the engineers, but it just seemed like there's a lot of, from that northern boulevard break, you know, down to the traffic circle, it seems like there's a lot of questionable movements, and maybe again, it's because it's a rendered plan and there's not striping and things, so I can use my imagination, but it was just a comment when I reviewed it, so. Additional thoughts? All right, if applicant, you want to step back up, I know there's a number of comments and you guys were writing some notes, I was doing the same, so we can collaborate together and create a dialogue if you want to have the floor.
Appreciate that. I'll answer some, and then I'll kind of phone a friend with some of our partners here. In terms of the roundabout, and I guess what we're talking about is the internal one.
Correct.
I'm not going to use the word roundabout because it's not intended to be a roundabout. It was always intended to be some type of, maybe let's call it stamped concrete, some type of emblem in the middle, you know, a "you are here" type of option. It's not geometrically designed to be a roundabout. People would drive right over it. Snowplows would drive right over it. It really is just kind of a center point to the neighborhood. Frankly, from a design point of view, I'd like to see it go because I agree with you. I think it's a little confusing. I may have misinterpreted some of the comments last time. Certainly, we're excited to bring that main entrance back to that point. I'll say it now, I'd like to get rid of it because it really is just meant to be an emblem, and I don't want to create confusion to people driving because we don't want them to swerve around it. It really is intended to go through. So I guess I'll say now we're going to remove the emblem, but the intersection will remain functional as it's proposed and as it's designed.
And Jim, just to clarify then, I believe, or would ask that just that get reviewed then of where those boulevards start and stop, because it seems like that may influence that, right? Those boulevards could come closer to that intersection if it gets rid of that circular motion, so.
Specifically to that, I think it was in the fire chief's review letter. They had some good feedback, and Steve Pangori from AEW is here tonight, and I'm going to ask him about the detention pond. But the fire chief has Steve's office looking at exactly those roundabout extensions, making sure we've got full access without, approaching any curbs or anything. So you're going to see in final engineering, obviously all this still is quite a journey to go through engineering review and fine tuning it. But through final engineering, we're going to be looking with Mark and with the fire department to make sure that we've got those radiuses just right for the trucks, moving trucks, fire trucks, garbage trucks, and so on. I'll go down my list here. So landscaping at the north, if there's less landscaping there than that was previously approved, I apologize for that. That was not the intent. We can make it verbatim. I did have to switch some landscaping around to move it here and there, but it should be, or the intent is to have exactly the same, if not more. So there's no intent to reduce it, and we'll do a fine audit between the approval, originally 23 landscape, and this landscape to make sure that northern and western edge has exactly the same landscape. That's certainly the intent. That dimension has not changed. In terms of the Springs area, that fence is right up against the parking lot area so that the full landscape, the natural existing buffer and the new landscape is outside of the fence or towards the neighbor. That'll just really all become, it's not meant to be a groomed area in terms of that new landscape. It'll add to that buffer, mostly evergreen. The utilities, Steve and I have actually gotten into several fistfights over this. It's almost impossible to plant trees to meet your ordinance and have underground utilities, but we do our best. I think one thing that is confusing, and Mark, I hear what you're saying, and we'll continue to refine it. In fact, our landscape plan that we submitted, we actually put the utilities in color to draw attention to them to it. Part of the problem, I think, and maybe I'll change this, is we draw a tree as a big circle, but it just has that trunk in the middle, and we really worked hard, and we'll continue to do it, to make sure that trunk is outside or right on the edge of the easement, certainly not over the utility. The circle, the emblem on the drawing may appear as though it's going over it, but we'll double down, and we'll do everything we can, but quite frankly, we have to either choose to have trees or toilets, but in some areas, it's difficult to have both in terms of avoiding the plantings. Open space, that calculation is in your packets. It's on one of AEW site plan packets where it provides all the data. My memory tells me that prior we had something like 15.9% open space on the original plan, and on this one, you can check the numbers in the packet, but in this one, it's 15.43 or something like that. The open space, particularly in the Springs, but also in North Village and South Village, between the buildings and between those center courtyards, has changed. I agree with the term usable open space. What we have done, especially in the springs between those upper buildings, is we've got a long corridor of just green space. And that has sidewalks, that has grill areas, that has cornhole areas. That's a really nice promenade of green space, which we previously didn't have. Again, we got rid of a lot of the traffic circles, but the green spaces between the dog park, the courtyards between the buildings, both those upper 7 buildings and the lower 4 buildings. So overall, and it's not meant to be only in the Springs area, but the overall PUD as it was originally conceived had that 15% open space, and this provides that 15% open space. We can look at more closely AEW's calculations and where that was, but we feel certain that it is there and that it meets not only the intent, or not the letter of the ordinance, but the spirit of it as well, and the spirit of the original plan. I think it's more usable both for the townhomes as well as for the apartments. I'm going to ask Steve to come up in just a minute and talk about the detention. I'm going to ask Sarah to come up and talk about some of the details in terms of signing and things like that. We talked about the traffic circle. The buffers, particularly on the back of the springs going towards the west, we didn't, as a landscape architect, think about buffering our phases or our neighborhoods within it. We certainly focused on buffering to the west and to the north and beautifying Baldwin Road. Because it's meant to be kind of a cohesive neighborhood, we certainly have trees, we have landscape areas, we have lawn areas, but we didn't think or double down on shielding views between different uses. It really is meant to be, more of that type of one village. We can work with you, we could work administratively and add some additional shrubbery along that north area, or some more trees. I don't think we want to get a lot of evergreens between the street and the parking lot, but that's something that if the township, if the commission would like to see that, we can work together on landscaping, but we didn't deliberately set about trying to screen the North Village from the South Village or the South Village from the Springs. We focus mostly on the perimeter. Baldwin Road, I can't remember what the comment was there, but again, we really continue to double down on it, both in terms of the architecture, the quality of the materials, the landscaping, and the parks along it. And we haven't really talked too much about the commercial area. You guys have seen that go up. We haven't proposed any changes with this amendment to the commercial area, but again, we know we'll be coming in quickly with the grocery, with some exciting new restaurants that'll be coming in, and so you'll see more detailed plans and landscape plans around those buildings as they come back to you. Steve, can I ask you to address the...
So real quick, while we're looking at this, open space calculation does not include detention basin, or does? Sorry, that's a question for our consultants.
Typically, that would not include the detention basin, and it's not usable open space.
So I'm just, bear with me that I'm flying through plans here this evening, but just, you had mentioned that it was listed on a plan, and I went to the second page of everything that's just speaking to open space, provided, required, percentage of, and I'm just seeing, I think the calculations just here of hatched areas where open space, where the detention basin is included in that, which might be part of where we're all kind of coming from a different understanding of it, because it looks like this hatch is representative. Now, I'll let you guys clarify, but seems to me like there's some of that might be in a little bit of a conflict.
We'll double check that. I don't know the answer to that right away. We tried to maintain the same exact areas generally that were approved as open space in the original PUD plan, but I'll have to double check whether or not that acreage around the pond was included, or in the pond was included.
Yeah, I can see that it's obviously 7.02 versus 7.04, but I think that's where, some of the planning commissioners are trying to understand where we get to that. So I'll give you back control. I just was wanting to pull up that page and trying to understand here while we're discussing it. But go ahead.
There were a couple things, a couple questions that came up. The one question regarding the size of the detention pond and why it changed. The runoff to the detention pond stayed exactly the same, relatively exactly the same. What we did was raise the normal water surface in the pond so that we could spread the storage out over a larger area and not have to over-excavate additional dirt. Dirt balance on this site was extremely critical. There's a lot of dirt that's going to be moved. So that's why it grew in size, because we were storing at a shallower depth. The other thing I wanted to just quickly mention is, and Jim alluded to it, one of the fire marshal's comments, I didn't mean to do that, but his comments really centered around truck movements at this intersection that I'm circling with the cursor.
Inside the springs at the central point there.
Yeah, and we've done a little bit of tweaking. Some of the wheel paths came very close or over top the curb. We were showing a curb and gutter section. So we've done a little bit of tweaking to the wheel paths and some of the geometrics in this area. Then we'll be able to show the fire marshal that the truck can move through that area.
I've got
Go ahead,
a
Mr. Gross.
quick question. Are the retention ponds wet or dry?
They're designed as a wet pond. With fountains, correct.
With what?
Fountains.
Not a swimming pool, but just fountain features. Go ahead, go ahead, Jim.
Johnson to come up and,
Yeah.
from Continental Properties.
Please, go ahead.
walk through, we've got much more detailed graphics of some of the amenities. I'm happy to pull those up. Sir,
Just a quick question before we
Yeah.
move on from that. And those ponds, what's the current depth versus the previous? Just out of curiosity.
Great technical question, on the spot.
2 foot.
How fast can an engineer respond?
I can tell you the proposed storage depth, is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
The proposed storage depth is 3 feet.
Okay.
And the previous storage depth, I can't remember. But it was deeper than that.
There's no concern of that losing kind of the shoreline there, and if evaporation, drainage, whatever, I just don't want to end up with a big mucky field.
Mr. Landis, you want to give us a little?
Well, it's an interesting comment because, yeah, I'm looking at the previous plan versus this one. It looks like, what the applicant is saying, they've just spread the water out to make the surface area larger, but the depth is obviously shallower. But typically on a wet pond, we do require a minimum of 4 feet of depth, of permanent water, just so you're not ending up with a stagnant pond. And so they may have to, if they want to keep this as a permanent water feature, they may have to, excavate a little more.
It is at least that deep. The 3 feet I was referring to is the storage depth from the normal water surface up to where the high water would be during a 100-year event.
And that's the required, but is there a recommended or a number you'd like to see for a depth?
Again, 4 feet would be the minimum of permanent water. The
Right, I
bottom
guess
of the
that's my
pond
question, though.
to
Is there
your
a-
outlet would be
Yeah,
I
so
get the
4
minimum, but
feet,
is there a,
and then, I'm sorry?
I get the minimum requirement, but is there a number that you like to see in a situation like that, or is 4 feet sufficient?
4 feet sufficient.
Thank you.
Also say, Mr. Jones, that when the plan engineering occurs, then a number of those items are verified and re-reviewed in greater detail. Not that your initial concern isn't valid, but it's just saying there's some additional calculations and depths and things that get reviewed by Mr. Landis with plan engineering.
Thank you.
Just bring you a little more comfort. Sorry, I think you guys had the floor and we kind of went off with some additional questions in the meantime, so feel free to go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission and staff. My name is Sarah Johnson, here representing Continental Properties. I'm not sure if you need our business address for the record.
If you don't mind, that would be
If
helpful.
you don't mind, it's a lengthy one, so we go off the
Hey,
coordinate
is it as
system.
long as your parcel IDs and addresses
Yeah,
that I had to
so
read in the records?
Our business address for the record is W for West 134, N for North 8675 Executive Parkway. We're located in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
See, that was easy. Why don't you read your parcel IDs and all of that?
I'm going to try to go as quick as I can, but I'm happy to bounce back to any of the imagery. I really do want to share some photographs and imagery and not just renderings, specifically for the neighbors that we have in the audience as well, to give them a better feel for what these homes and what these structures will look like. Very briefly, Continental Properties, we are privately held. We got founded in 1979. We are the developer, owner, and operator of multifamily communities throughout the United States. At present time, we have 93 residential communities within our portfolio, just over 25,000 homes. Michigan specific, I know Jim alluded to this briefly in the earlier presentation, but just to show you what our Michigan portfolio looks like today, we do have 8 communities under ownership. The red pinpoint represents stabilized communities. So those are communities that we are complete with construction and they have reached stabilization and occupancy from our homeowners. The black pins are under construction and or lease-up activities at present time. And then the blue dot there is just representing where Springs at Baldwin Village sits. I have this available if we want to bounce back, but really I'm just going to talk about a slightly zoomed in image for the Continental property specifically. There are a few things I wanted to draw attention to or address specifically based on staff comments that we received. The first being a few items related to signage. There was a comment on the monument sign, and I guess this ties into or is in connection with our dual resident access points now. I'm not sure if it was clear in the submittal package, but what we would be proposing as part of the second resident access is that we would have identical monument signs at each access point to draw attention for our resident base, that both of them are equally usable. We do feel like opening up the second access towards the retail and commercial activity, it will draw more attention to that being used as more of the primary access feature, but I did want to call out that we would be proposing a secondary monument sign to draw that resident attention to that access point as well. There was another comment related to the tower sign feature or the building sign that we have on our clubhouse. Our traditional or the way that the clubhouse is laid out, and I have a slide a little bit in the future that you can see the tower signage programmed, but we would typically have tower signage on 3 sides of the clubhouse, each of them at 20 square feet. I believe, and I guess I'm looking for clarification, I think code allows for 40 square feet of building signage. What we would be requesting, and we could eliminate one of those tower signs, but we'd be requesting 2 20 square foot signs that would equal that 40 square feet, excuse me. There was another comment related to just kind of the supplementary signs that we have within the community, and there's a cap at 2 square feet each for those. I think we only have a handful of signs within our package that go just slightly over 2 square feet. It's really just a mechanism of the font size we use that's legible for the residents going towards those amenity features. I'd be happy to reduce those. We'd be happy to reduce those to 2 square feet if that's the preference, but I really do think we might be talking about an extra 1/4 of a square foot for those. The last piece related to signage, and I'm sorry, I'm getting granular, but I want to make sure we're clear. The last piece related to the building address signs on each structure. I think our sign package was showing something like 7 square feet. We're accustomed to those larger signs as a mechanism of fire and the requirements that they have for font size and legibility from an emergency services standpoint. I don't know the answer here on what the fire marshal may require, so I just wanted to flag that depending on the size of the text and the font required for emergency services, we may need to go over the 2 square feet for those signs specifically due to what we would have to be mandated with fire. I will reiterate for Miss Branton, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct if she's still in the audience. I do want to reiterate that we do not have dumpsters individually scattered throughout the community. We like to keep our properties and our communities very clean and well kept. We do own and operate these in our portfolio, so they are Continental employees working and operating out of each of these communities. We do have a centralized compactor location that also has, and I don't know if, oops, sorry about that. I got a little ahead of myself. We do have that centralized compactor. We also offer valet trash for our residents. So members of our maintenance team are going around to pick up refuse from those residents and bringing it to the centralized compactor location. Residents also have access if they want to bring refuse directly to that location, but we are picking up directly at each of their homes. The building and concerns about the structures themselves in proximity to our neighbors to the north. I do have an image further on in the presentation that I want to draw attention to for Ms. Branton, just so she can understand exactly what that structure would look like adjacent to her home. I think Jim did an excellent job talking through the amenities and the open spaces that we are promoting on the site. So I'm happy to bounce back if you have additional questions on these, but I will continue on. This is just an image from one of our sister communities nearby. I wanted to show this just to reiterate the request that we have for our tower signage and our clubhouse feature. We would just limit it to 2 tower signs, one facing eastbound and one facing southbound off of that structure directly. Just wanted to share a few visuals of what the interior of our clubhouse and some amenities are within the community. So our clubhouse is adequately, it's very generously sized based on the communities that we own and operate. We do have a large gathering space or a multi-purpose space within each of these clubhouse features. We also have offices for our leasing staff to operate out of day in and day out. There is a kitchen area where we do have resident events. And a coffee bar for our residents to use free of charge, and snacks are plentiful at each of the communities. Out to the rear of the clubhouse feature, we would have our resort-style swimming pool with a large pool deck and outdoor areas for resident gatherings as well. As part of the clubhouse, we do have a 24-hour fitness center for our residents to utilize. And there is a car care center available for our residents to use to wash their vehicles and vacuum their vehicles out free of charge. And that typically sits adjacent our leash-free pet park. And that feature sits, if you look at the plan and its orientation up on that northwest quadrant, which really would be southwest if I'm speaking specifics with directions. The homes, as Jim described, are 2-story in nature because one of the things our resident profile and our resident demographic really enjoys and appreciates is that direct access to their home. They're not going into shared corridors and walking up flights of stairs. They're walking in a first floor singular private entry, either to their first floor home or up a set of stairs to their second floor home. This, for Ms. Branton, I wanted to draw specific attention to this one because this is the elevation that would be facing your home. There would be 4 residents, 4 homes, 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second floor. That would be in near proximity to your home, on that northern side of the site. But I did want to, again, address the fact that these are two-story in nature, not three-story. So from the original plan that was approved, these structures are a little over 15 feet less in height than what was approved back on the previous PUD. This doesn't really show a great feature, but one of the things that is a really cool feature of our communities is the courtyards that Jim was speaking to, and where we're really having some activated open space between the homes. And one of the things that is to our benefit using two-story versus three-story is that you can get a little closer in proximity and it's still very comfortable. We can promote with different seating features and activate the space with yard games and pergola seating, grill stations. So those courtyard features that we have frequently throughout the site are really an activated, neat space, and they kind of take on different identities based on the different locations within the community. I am wrapping it up. I just have a few images to show what the interior of these homes look like. Open concept floor plans, very gracious bedrooms with walk-in closets and attached bathrooms to a handful of the homes, to a handful of the bedrooms, excuse me. I do have the 2D in the back of the architectural elevations for our residential structures as well as our clubhouse if you have specific questions. But with that, the only other item I did want to make the request of is in relation to sidewalks, and that is in partnership with the open space calculation that we have on the site. The sidewalks that we have adjacent to those parking features are 5 foot with an additional 6-inch curb. And we construct that kind of similar spec throughout the rest of our communities, and it allows that overhang while still providing adequate access for our residents to walk along that frontage. So I did want to make the request and address that we would request to preserve that. If we did need to meet the 7-foot standard, we'd be happy to adjust the plans, but just know that we would have to encroach a little bit in some of those green space areas between parking and our buildings within the community. Happy to answer any additional questions that you all have, but that is it for my formal presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gerling, remind me, signage does need to be included, or yes, okay, as a PUD, that's what I thought. I always mix the two up. So, yeah, I think there would be some points of clarification. So in other words, we would want to see it in the submission just as clarity, because it isn't something separate, because it's a PUD. My just initial comments was it felt like kind of that tower signage seemed a little big for our ordinance, but it sounds like maybe that's a little workable on your side. Nothing that I was losing sleep over, but just kind of wanting some feedback on sign size. John, go ahead. Did you have something?
Thanks. Yeah, I do, it was a thumbnail calculation, but I was concerned about we've talked about the usable open space, and so I went back to our old plan, and I see that we didn't use and we haven't with PUDs used the detention pond as a usable open space area. And so I think there needs to be some clarification if I'm looking at 2.78 acres classified as open space on the proposed plan, where in the past plan, there was about 7 acres of usable open space that did not include the detention basin. So there's a conflict there, and again, I just did the calculations with my phone, and it clearly says the detention basin on this plan is calculated as open space. Now, maybe if they change the depths, that you're going to get some more usable open space, but there is an issue there. We do need about 7 acres of usable open space overall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for obviously keeping projects moving forward, and I know this is a complex one, and it hasn't been a quick one for the first go-around, so, but I think that's a big point to address, not to undercut it, and I apologize that obviously get clarified here in the meeting, but to me, that's something to address. And I feel like maybe not large, but some low-hanging fruit that needs to be kind of spoken to, clarified. I appreciate the comments offered forth, obviously, for the removal of traffic circle and improvements and things like that, and, you know, additional landscaping and those clarification points. I guess kind of where I'm at right now is struggling to see how we get here this evening, but I want to make sure we get our comments out on the table and make sure we're not bringing up new things. You know, obviously, changes will prompt new things, but just to be clear, so we're kind of wrapping up comments as a whole, or trying to get closer to hopefully a conclusion here, especially since it's not a multi-step process. What am I missing? Anything?
Yeah, my big concern is that green space, because I mean, that puts you down to about 4.3 acres. And to John's point, it's 15% is just north of 7 acres. And that's part of these PUDs, right? It's usable, right? It's a community benefit. How does it affect not just the residents, but also the community? I'm fine with that, stamped concrete being removed. I think that's a really good idea, because I think that would really cause, it's not just a trial roundabout for when you get on the main roads here in Orion. But, so I'm good with that. I'm good with most of this other stuff, but for me, it's it's definitely the usable green space, so.
And I will say, Jack, that, again, looking at this, Jim had indicated the areas between the units could be classified as usable open space, and I'm not opposed to that. It's just a matter of what that calculation is.
I think, you know, to circle back to the applicant, I think it's, you know, just getting some comfort of that, you know, that we're staying equal to. We talked a lot about open space, a lot about setbacks, all of that. Obviously, a couple of comments as it relates, and Jim, you had mentioned the northern, you know, re-reviewing that or taking a look and make sure we're equal to, if not better, you know, on that north side, as adjacent to those existing residencies. You know, I'm coming around to the idea, obviously, of this being less of a cohesive kind of, not that the Springs is not cohesive, maybe isn't the best word, but it's a different approach, right? So, but I think, to me, that some of those transitions and buffers might be one of those things that get looked at in addition, and maybe that's an opportunity for that open space calculation to come back in, so.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah.
I appreciate the Commission's comments, and as we've demonstrated, I think we've taken them to heart. We are really at a point now where we are, will lose leases, and we will put, frankly, most of the commercial at jeopardy for moving forward. We have demonstrated that we'll continue to work with you. We look at this as a minor amendment, and certainly can work administratively, work with the commission, and work through final engineering on these items. We really are requesting a vote tonight of up or down for the amendment, as opposed to tabling. If we table it, we will lose leases. We will likely get into a lawsuit, a second lawsuit with the underlying seller. I recognize these are not the commission's problems, but they are realities of the project, and it will put the project at jeopardy to move forward at this point. We've begun this amendment back in March, and we've worked with the township in good faith, and I think the township has worked with us in good faith. We have no argument whatsoever. But we are at the point now where we've gotten tabled or delayed. We've come back to a public hearing. We understand all that process, but we really are requesting a vote. We'll continue to work with the township. I think that these things are things that can be worked out. We're committed to working them out. But I just want to be very, very honest, and that's why we've got all of our representatives here tonight, that we're at a tipping point based on how long this has taken and the point of the year at which we're at, that it really will significantly jeopardize the future of the project.
Noted. My issue is to me, the submitting a plan that includes things in open space that aren't technically allowed to be in open space is a pretty big hinge point for us on a PUD. So is there, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, how they're going to put a motion on the table, but I'm reading between the lines here. I don't see how we're gonna get to a vote this evening. I hear you that you need us to be workable, but also economic reasons are not the reason for us to provide votes or be forced to vote. So that's,
It's our problem, it's not your problem, but it is a reality of the project.
and understood. And I think you're hearing a lot of workable comments, and this is not a small development. And I think, as you mentioned, everyone's been very workable, and we've gotten creative in many ways to keep this project moving forward with, in my mind, the significant changes that have been brought forth. So, you know, I'm open to motions for the table, but I'm also looking to get some points of clarification on the open space. So we can put a motion on the table and see what happens and go from there, but understood, duly noted for the record.
How much,
Someone's willing to make a motion,
I
or,
just have a quick question.
go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Just back to these ponds. I'm just wondering if there's a way to gain some open space by, I know you wanted to make that larger, I think 40% was the number, but how much open space did you lose in that?
I think that that's a really good question. As Mr. Pangori pointed out, we're trying to balance the site, but we still have that whole additional, as the chairman pointed out, a whole additional, very detailed engineering stage, and I think that that's a really viable solution potentially, and something that we can work in, and as I demonstrated, that's what we're hoping to do, is get past this point so that we can move on to engineering, sign our leases, sign our commitments, not lose the project, but look for those solutions through final engineering. That's what we're requesting.
Guess I'm going to turn to my consultants. You know, we've been very workable on this project. I will be very clear to the applicant. We've been very, very workable. So, but I also want there to be comfort amongst the planning commission on getting to the point. I mean, I don't think it's a point of question on what's included and not included in our open space calculations, correct?
Well, you know, Mark and I are looking at old plans, and the plans that I was looking at did not count the detention basin as usable open space. Mark is showing me another plan that did count 2 acres as open space. So I guess we're not sure which plan has the detention basin. The new plan does have the detention basin as usable open space. If we've already allowed that in the past, which I can't tell you we did or didn't,
Right.
based on 2 different plans, then I think it's fair to say we would use it again. Now, if we also take the additional areas between the apartment units,
Right.
and I think that's fair to count that as open space, we may be close to it, but I just don't know. Because Mark's got a plan, I had a plan. One showed it as open space, one showed it as not open space.
Technically, those areas between the buildings, which are, you know, as Sarah pointed out, probably our best open space, technically aren't open space because they're within the setbacks of the building. So it's you know, a little bit of a nuance from the, you know, what's calculated as open space. I agree with you, John. That's what kind of threw me off, is without having the drawings, they were old approved 23 drawings in front of me. I think that these are very consistent and were calculated the same way, but we'll have to verify that. But again, I would like to work with you on that, and you know, just very humbly request that we're able to move on and keep this project alive.
Is there a potential, commissioners, if you're comfortable with a conditional approval coming back with a more specific calculation of open space? I think that's one of the things where we're bumping our heads. The other issues, I think the signage, I'm comfortable with that. BUD has that ability to do that. I don't think that it's oversigned or oversized. You're going to be removing the turning, I don't know what to call it. The landscaping's going to be clarified on the north side or more specified when you do the calculations. So it really is a matter of, do you meet that 15% If you count the detention basins, you do. If you don't, you may not have done that in the past either. And I'm torn by how much, I'm wondering how much open space is between those apartments, because I think that makes more sense for open space than a detention basin.
Ms. Garang?
We have, we've been working for, as you know, over a year on amending the PUD section of the ordinance. And the few times that it came to the planning commission, and keep in mind that this is not in there yet, but we had said, even though it says that stormwater is not, that if it has some type of water feature and perhaps some park benches around it, that although you might not be recreating, running around, it is a feature that perhaps can be enjoyed by the citizens because it has the fountains and has some things that you're able to peacefully recreate. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I thought I had one more thing, but it's getting late and I can't remember what it was. I'm sorry, if I think of it, I'll.
Haven't we approved?
Yes, we have approved some other ones with, I mean, keep in mind it's a PUD, and you're supposed to have a certain amount of open space. I can't tell you a specific project, I can't tell you percentage, but there's been other ones we've looked at and said, yeah, there's some area between that, even though you're not supposed to use your setbacks, that it can function for that purpose. So there is that little bit of wiggle if you, as the planning commission, feel that.
Does this have a fountain? Will this have a fountain?
A few.
A few fountains.
Do you have some detail or any renderings of those? Because I think that's a good point, Tammy, that if it's not just a flat pond, but if it has fountains in it, that offers beauty to the surrounding area. I think that has a little more merit than the typical retention pond.
See if this comes up. One rendering that we have shows it in the distance. It doesn't show it specifically. If you'll see on the plan, there is quite a bit of topography, especially on the backside, so it sets up nicely. You'll see it from Baldwin Road, which was always kind of the one of the goals that we consistently heard from the supervisor on down in terms of what can we do to beautify Baldwin Road. The safety path goes right around that. We certainly could look at adding additional paths. I like the idea of benches. So it's not, you know, it's almost a shame to call it stormwater. It's really intended to be, part of the beauty of Baldwin Road.
Is 2 weeks critical?
Two weeks, in other words, if we had a special meeting in 2 weeks? I prefer, Mr. Gross, to continue to push my luck and ask for a conditional approval with the idea that we can demonstrate that it meets the standards, and then move on to engineering.
We were able to pull up the original approved PUD plan, and we did show that entire detention area, roughly 2.96 acres, I believe, at that time, as open space and part of the open space calculation. One area that we did not include as open space that maybe could have is the water portion of the wetland that's being saved.
That's also something that isn't included. Wetland setback and wetland is not included in open space area, correct?
Correct, but it also says that it doesn't mean that you can't have an area that's not in the wetland, around the wetland, that has paths for you to.
Creative, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We did, I think we did that properly around the wetlands. But right or wrong, I think in the area around the detention pond, we're consistent with what we included as open space.
Well, I think the pivot here, though, is the change that what we're trying to get after with creative solutions on the fly is one is a water feature, the other pivots back to a detention and goes, understood you can interpret those similarly, but I think we're all heading towards the idea of a water feature that also happens to be utilized for detention. versus just detention and something that's larger and fighting for that open space. But Tammy, I do appreciate the thought, that you're right. There's been some open-minded thinking as it relates to open space, and I think there's some ways to get there. You know, I can see how there could be some proof or some modifications that detention basin to obviously see that. So, guess I'll turn it over to my fellow planning commissioners. If someone's looking to put a motion on the table, we can further deliberate from there and discuss, and doesn't mean a roll call vote's here called right away, but just something to consider and deliberate on.
I would move, Mr. Chairman, that the Planning Commission approves PC 2026-21, the Baldwin Village Minor PUD Amendment, located at the unaddressed parcels. Do I have to read all these?
As previously stated.
Unaddressed parcel south of 3440 Gingleville Drive, parcel 09-32-151-020, 4292 South Baldwin Road, parcel 09-32-151-021, 4790 South Baldwin Road, formerly parcel 09-32-301-014, now parcel 09-32-301-016, 47040 South Baldwin, formerly parcel 09-32-301-014, now parcel 09-32-301-015, and an unaddressed parcel north of 4740 South Baldwin Road, parcel 09-32-301-001, referencing the plans date stamped received July 23rd, 2026. This approval is a conditional approval based upon the following findings of fact: that the applicant will provide calculation of open space provided on the plans to meet ordinance requirements, and that information to be submitted to the Planning Commission for review and approval, that the emblem on the main drive or roundabout be removed from the plan as shown, and that the revisions will be the benefit to the future users of the project, of the community. Revisions result in a material increase in the use of public services, which can be accommodated. The revisions do not place an unreasonable burden upon the existing PUD or the surrounding property owners or the natural environment. The PUD is within the intent and spirit of the master plan, and it's consistent with the previously approved PUD plan. And that the revisions will allow the PUD to continue to promote the preservation of natural resources and features that were in the original PUD. Try that.
All right, I have a motion of support.
I'll support it.
Motion support by Mr. Lovett. Further discussion.
Is it appropriate for me to ask a question of someone in the audience that spoke earlier?
Through me, yes. So go ahead and pose your question.
I'm curious, after hearing some of the specifics and some of the answers provided by developers here, if they feel more satisfied with that north fence, or north barrier and screening.
I can pose that. I think I want to talk through a couple other items also. There's still, I want to make sure we get back to the motion that's on the table before we get into some details. Motion and support.
If we can, now that we can discuss it.
Correct. We have motion to support. To just be clear of some additional conditions, right? So it would be the idea of outstanding comments, right? So is your intent that motion to approve, right? And you still want to see the plan back for further approval based on the open space, or, because you had mentioned it coming back to PC, so.
Just a confirmation by the staff or the consultant.
For record, it reviewed by our consultants and submitted for us for record. Okay. Additionally, conditions, there's some items in our packet as it relates to condominium docs, PUD agreement, unresolved review, lettered comments, all of those. I just want to make sure your intent on that
Those
is
should all be
clear.
included, yes.
So, will you go ahead and read those into the record so we can just keep, I would like to have a holistic motion on the table if you could humor me.
As an amendment to the motion, the approval is subject to the following conditions. That the planning commission does not need to see the condo documents when submitted, but the condo documents will need content approval from the township planner, engineer, attorney, and fire department, and must be recorded at the Register of Deeds. Second, the PUD amendment agreement being reviewed by the attorney and approved by the township supervisor. That the unresolved issues of the township planner's review letter of August 7th, 2026 be incorporated, and any unresolved issues related to the township engineer's review letter of August the 10th, 2026 be resolved. I believe the fire marshal was okay. There wasn't any concerns with the fire marshal.
Clarity in turning motions, there was a comment. I don't know that. So
Any
I'd include
unresolved
that.
issues related to the fire marshal's review letter of August the 5th, 2026. And further, that the, for the record, the letter of Jim Epic of July the 22nd, 2026, be a part of the official record and file.
All right, I have amended motion. Do I have amended support, Mr. Lovett? Okay, further discussion on the motion. Ms. Grilling?
If I understood it, it said that the open space had to meet ordinance. They prove that it meets ordinance. Again, ordinance says that setbacks don't count towards it. Retention ponds don't count towards it. So is it literally, they have to show that, and we know with the fast calculation that they won't meet that percentage. So are you saying that when staff is reviewing it, they can count the setback area? They can count an area around the retention pond?
And/or the ability, and/or the pond as an amenity due to the fountains.
Yes, if the pond is reflected as a passive recreation area of the development consisting of amenities that are available to the complex, to the community.
Okay, so we have a point of clarification on the motion. Mr. Lovett, do you support? Okay. So I just want to come back to the applicant. Yes. So that's obviously asking of you to potentially change or modify or further change the detention plan potentially. Are you open to that? Is that a condition you're offering?
Yes.
Okay. And,
And let me clarify my answer. Certainly to add the amenities, to work together with staff and consultants to look to see how that becomes a true amenity, and then I'll leave it to the township engineer and our project engineer to determine what that correct, from an engineering point of view, depth is and side slopes, and whether that becomes some additional open space, or that it's kind of, as they say, beyond my pay grade, but I know that your engineer and our engineers can work that out.
okay, understood. And then you made a comment in a conditional offering earlier that the intent of the submittal was to meet the same landscaping, if not more, on the northern property line. That's still a condition you're offering, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And it was clarified, that was just something I had, but the elevation for the homes were as rendered versus the elevations as submitted, but also noted, meaning the additional materials. Just to clarify that condition. You're offering it in the packet, but it's not shown, it's noted.
And correct, we will
the
offer
homes.
that, and we'll make that part of the amended packet.
Okay, and you already offered the resolution of the removal of the traffic circle and resolution there. Okay. So I've amended, let's get these clarified. Amended motion, do you have amended support? You accept those clarifications, I guess.
Yes.
You accept that amended motion?
Yes.
Ms. Gurley?
What about the signs?
Agreed, that was next on my list. So point of clarification, conditional offering from that, we're trying to get to a motion here on the fly. So need some clarity on signage of what we're going to meet and what we're going to see. Are you asking us to approve signs as submitted, or are they going to be modified?
It will be modified, as Ms. Johnson pointed out, that one of 3 signs on the Springs Tower, Clubhouse Tower, will be removed, so the total will equal 40 square feet, meeting that ordinance, and that there'll be a second sign, which actually is shown, perhaps not a detail, but the sign itself is shown at the let's call it the Spine Road entrance, so we'll have a monument sign at both of those entrances. It'll be the same sign.
Okay. Understood. Thank you for those points of clarification. Those are accepted. Sure. Okay. Ms. Gurley?
I just want I want the PC to know that you can accept it, but that is not how the ordinance is interpreted. You have the square footage, but it says 1 wall sign. So even if you've got 2 square feet and they're 2 sides, those are 2 wall signs. So if you're fine with the size they're saying, just realize that you're accepting 1 additional wall sign above what is normal, which a PUD can do.
Understood. Because it was the intent that both of them would be 40 square feet together, collective. Correct. So 20 and 20. Okay. Last source subject, western property line landscaping between the 2 developments. It was something that we had discussed. Is there any other conditions that we're looking to have added there? Additional landscape buffering.
The applicant, Mr. Chairman's indicated that there's no difference in that, and that, I think that needs to be verified. No difference from the original plan. Oh, on the north, that was the north side?
North side I clarified. I'm talking western between what village and.
The
Okay.
village and the Springs, the kind
Thank
of an internal boundary as opposed
Yeah,
to.
you would offer just a comment of something that we would look at or potentially landscape some additionally. I'm just kind of coming back to that comment that was made by the applicant.
My answer to that would be, we'll, as part of the new engineering package, have to update our landscape, try and avoid all utilities, verify that we're meeting the northern and western boundary. In that packet, we can work with the Springs development and come up with something that's, reasonably maintained and provides a little more screening there.
Okay. Is that something we're willing to accept as additional screening between the western development, between?
Internal screening.
Agreed, but just in where we were at versus where they're at, where we're currently.
Of course.
All right, amended motion, amended support, understanding the condition that there would be additional landscape buffering. Ms. Gurley?
I just have to point one thing out, because we don't have this very frequently. We have a wonderful planning commission and don't normally have 2 people out. So, just so you know, the bylaws of the planning commission say that you have to, no matter how many members are present, you have to get 4 affirmative votes. So, keep that in mind.
I thought you were going to throw me another curveball of PUD language. I figured that, but yes.
The total side, I'd like to submit my application to sit on your planning commission.
Denied. No, I'm kidding. All right, so we have a motion on the table. Circle back, Mr. Jones, with the comment that you had made in public comment on the motion. Additional comments, questions, concerns is the comment sits on the table right now, including that of consultants or staff. Okay. All right. I'm going to open it up to public comment before calling a roll call vote. That can include any comments from the applicant. I know there's been some back and forth, so that would include the opportunity for public to comment on the motion on the table. Again, it's a motion to approve. There's a number of conditions that we're expecting to be made administratively to keep the project moving forward. There was a question raised by Mr. Jones to public comment as it relates to the northern landscape buffer. So just to add some points of clarification, the motion on the table does include clarification that there would be equal to, if not more, landscaping provided from the previously approved plan to the current one. I believe this comment is directed towards yourself. If you want to step up to the podium, it was just a little bit of validation here. I apologize, Miss
Branton, I think.
Branton, yeah. Kind of prompting some public comment on the motion, if you would humor us. So there's going to be equal to, if not more, landscaping to the previously approved plan. So it was kind of, there was a question raised through the chair from Mr. Jones, just saying, you know, would you feel comfortable with this as a solution to your raised questions earlier during public hearing?
Well, I'd have to say that, no, I don't feel comfortable. I would like all the ducks in a row and a yes or no vote. Not if we give you a yes vote, will you do this? And I don't know what he's planning on doing in between our boundary, his property and our property. To just say we will do more than what was there before, what the original plan was.
That would have to be
Remember what it
reviewed.
looked like.
And that's a great point. We, as a township, would specifically review that, and we would decide whether that's more.
Our professional consultants will review that to verify it. And I will just say, it was reviewed with the plan as submitted. But it was a question raised through the chair, so we wanted to have a point of discussion.
The old plan.
The original PUD-approved plan, correct.
So he's saying now that he's going to take the old plan, and it's going to be more.
Equal to or better, and it would be confirmed by our consultants.
So even if you approve this, is he liable to do that?
Yes, as a condition. That's what all of our back and forth complexities here is building a motion instead of a simple yes, no, it's a yes, and you need to do X, Y, and Z.
And I just want to know, is he obligated to do it?
Yes.
You know, so he can't just go ahead and start digging and doing everything.
Correct.
And then the trees don't go in.
Agreed. We have many measures in place, so Ms. Gerling and all of our staff would happily lead you through all the fun we have with performance guarantees as it relates to landscaping, so. We have a lot of fun with that.
But, yeah, I do have a question about the detention pond, though.
Okay, go ahead. You do have a right for public comment on the motion.
I'll do it real quick.
Okay.
As of right now, that detention pond is dry. There's nothing there. Is there a reason to put water in it? I don't really know, as far as an engineering standpoint. Do you have to have a project with a detention pond that is filled with 4 feet of water?
Go ahead, Mr. Landis.
If I may, Mr. Chair, yes. Stormwater detention ponds are a typical requirement for developments. If you look at the site right now, it's mostly trees, grass, right? And once you develop it, you're increasing the amount of paved impervious area, right? So you're going to have more runoff than you would in its current condition. So the idea being that you capture that storm water, put it in the pond, and then you release it at a controlled rate. And you try to mimic the pre-developed condition. So it is a engineering requirement.
Well, we do right now in our condo complex, our very small complex. We also have a detention pond, and it's always empty, unless we get a real bad storm. Then it does fill up with water, and then it empties again. I was just wondering, why does it need to be filled to 4 feet all the time? Or is it going to be a thing where it fills up and it goes down?
You can have different types of ponds. You can have one like what you have within your complex where it empties all the time, or you can have one that like they're proposing and it's a water feature. They want to create a body of water for aesthetics and put a fountain in it and have seating around it with plants as a amenity.
Will it be fenced?
Okay.
Sorry.
Nope,
I'll
I
walk
just,
away.
in respect of everyone's time, I don't want to discredit any of your public comments. Our staff will happily walk you through everything that's in here. But I want to be respectful of everyone's time this evening, especially since we're coming on 10 o'clock.
Yes, okay.
So any other additional public comments? And because our staff is readily and willing to walk you through any of the technicalities of how we get stuff accomplished.
Okay. Not right now, at another.
No, I'm saying, is there any other new topics? Yeah, anything as it relates to the motion on the table?
No.
Okay, thank you very much, and we do appreciate you coming out, and trust me, your questions are not discredited. I'm just, in the nature of everyone's evenings, I'm hoping to move this along. So, all right, so there's a motion on the table to recommend approval. Again, we are a minor amendment, so it is all on us here at the Planning Commission. There is no role or involvement from the Board of Trustees. There's a motion to approve. There's a number of conditions to address the outstanding comments. There's a number of conditions brought forth of improvements that will be reflected upon the plan, reviewed by our staff, confirmed, and then the plan would be resubmitted to us for record purposes. Is that correct? That's the motion on the table. Right.
Just the site plan, not the whole.
Okay. Either way, let's just keep it simple. The whole submission package, we'll see it. Read which pages you so choose. All right. I'll have a motion on the table. Final call for any public comment on the motion. Okay, call a roll call vote, please.
Jones.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Lovett.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Reynolds.
No.
Motion carries.
Okay. With that said, I guess putting a lot of faith in our consultants, but thanks for working back and forth with us this evening, and we'll go from there.
Really appreciate your time and consideration. We'll work hard and won't let you down. Thank you.
Hope that's the case. All right, leading right back to our favorite topic of public comments. Any public comments of any topic? All right, seeing none, we have no communications, planner reports and educations, we have none, committee reports, we have none, future public hearings, we have none. I have no comments this evening. Mr. Jones, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Mr. Lovett?
Yeah, I have a question. I understand the drive-through being a major. How is this a minor?
So I will answer that. Depending on how PUD languages are drafted, adopted, however, there may be spoken to language of how amendments can occur. We have a spirit and intent in the ordinance as it relates to what is a major and what is a minor amendment. There was an opportunity in how the language was set forth in this development that, knowing there could be development changes, whatever it might be, that there would be opportunity for changes, and that a big difference between major and minor is how people are notified, and then obviously who is involved in that. Staff, per what we are allowed to do, was essentially came up with a structure to address our potential, public concern and advertised for it to be on the safe side of all of it, but we are following the PUD as it's written for this development, but not every development follows that same procedure. So that's why obviously the drive-through submission is slightly different structure. So,
I think we need to re-examine that, because having us being the last line, I think is pretty unfair to the planning commission. That's heavy lift, and I understand, I'm in construction. Unfortunately, this scenario happens way too often in construction, where, it's the new shiny object, and we have to move mountains to get there, but then, the people that we trust to make decisions on a voluntary board get put in a very difficult spot. So I appreciate your guys' work and your continued work on this one, but I think we need to take a hard look at this one as an example. So, other than that, do something kind for a neighbor.
Mr. Lovett, I'll just say your comments are heard, and this was not an easy one, and I will say there were some extra measures we took to try and look at this, to try and address all the different ways we can go about it, because recognizing many instances, the public who is here this evening, ourselves, you know, the effort of an applicant trying to keep a project moving forward. I work for a developer, I am a developer, it is tough out there, so my heart goes out, but obviously economic situations is not a reason to justify or force a vote. I do think we were close, I do think, you know, Tammy, once again, you know, I praised you last meeting, but hats off, because you're right, and honestly, that was a huge tipping point for me, of we did start looking at PUDs in a creative sense, that to say it is a feature and not just something required of, which was the original spirit and intent, I think, of how the ordinance is currently written and why we're working on it, is to say, could it become a feature? Absolutely, right? Because clearly in a water town, are we against there being a water feature becoming open recreational amenity space, right? So I think that's where technical language adopts. Now, to your point, and funny you should bring this up as not only our board representative, but a trustee, is the follow-through of PUD of what we're speaking to, and then it gets to a recommending body, and then obviously the Board of Trustees speaks to it. But that also resonates too with seeing condo docs, right? So condo docs can obviously take language, we have a baseline, but there can be evolution of that, again, of recognition of a very complex project, not going through all of the same steps back again, depending on the amendments of it. So duly noted, but I would take that back to some of your leaders, right? Or some of the people you sit on your other board with, is what I would say, so. Mr. Gross.
I have nothing.
Mr. Walker. All right, at a record closing 10:05, I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have support? All those in favor, please say with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.